You don't accept my confession. Why are you crying when you find a beautiful professor? He is my cousin. What's wrong with us playing poker in a hotel? Explain. What qualifications do you have for me to explain to you? Get away from me. Jinghai City, Xintiandi Building, Building B, Time Hotel. Sitting at the table, Feng Jia has long hair, red lips, and a delicate face. She is wearing branded clothes, and there is a luxurious LV shoulder bag on the bed. She frowned and shouted impatiently at the other end of the phone, and then hung up the phone. A set of operations was smooth, and then 2 trump cards were thrown out. A king bomb, a 3, you lose again, my brother. If you play cards like this, I will go to your house every day to make money during the new year. Just like what she said on the phone, playing poker is really playing poker, and the cousin is also a real cousin. Tang Yi threw the remaining cards in his hand into the deck out of boredom, and then spread his palms to indicate that he didn't want to continue playing. After a sigh, he asked, "My little ancestor, you are easy to be misunderstood by saying this, right? You can just say that we are playing poker in KFC, don't cut the steel rope tied by Yu Lao." Hearing this, Feng Jia was stunned, and then she giggled, and a cunning smile rose at the corner of her mouth while collecting the cards. "My brother, how can you, a virgin solo, preach to me? Oh, you don't know, he is very annoying. I don't know what he likes about me, he keeps pestering me, I can't hide from him. No matter where I am in school, I can happen to meet him, and he also happened to buy an extra cup of milk tea. Brother, do you understand? He bought me ice cream in the summer, knitted me a scarf in the winter, and came from the dormitory to give me an umbrella on rainy days and then ran back in the rain. It sounds romantic at first, right? But I don't have any feelings for him, so not only do I not find it romantic, I also find him particularly annoying. Don't you think he is stupid, my brother? He could have taken 2 umbrellas from the dormitory, so why did he go back in the rain? Is it to make me feel sorry for him?" Tang Yi did not answer Feng Jia, but suddenly remembered his unforgettable experience in the past year. If you can use 3 words to summarize this experience, it would be Jiyu Qingyu. Just hearing the name is beautiful, right? She is the school belle of Jinghai University of Technology, with long hair that is so charming and beautiful. Especially her pair of spiritual eyes are really as beautiful as a clear moon hanging in the sky. Tang Yi, who was born solo, fell in love with her when he saw her when he first entered school a year ago. He admitted that he was indeed a little attracted by her beauty, but he was gradually fascinated by her curved eyebrows. He really did more than anyone else to win the smile of the school belle. Guan pay attention to her dynamics to carefully create an encounter, and hand her the milk tea of her favorite flavor that he has been preparing for a long time. He knitted a DIY bag for her one by one, and every festival he would think hard about what kind of gift to give her that would be both thoughtful and decent. The most impressive thing was that when he heard that Jiyu Qingyu wanted to eat pure handmade beef balls, Tang Yi was afraid that the ones made outside were not pure, so he got up at 4 in the morning with his roommates to go to the vegetable market to buy them, and then he made them while watching the tutorials in the dormitory. Tang Yi was never afraid of trouble, as long as Jiyu Qingyu wanted it. So when he heard his cousin Feng Jia talking about this boy, he felt a little empathy and asked unconsciously. Maybe he was in a hurry and forgot to bring an extra umbrella. But he did a good job in other things. Have you ever considered being with a boy like this? Tang Yi was interrupted by Feng Jia with a gesture before he finished speaking, and she frowned. Brother, that's not good. In my opinion, it's all a burden. Because I don't like him, everything he does is in vain, he just impresses himself. I've seen a lot of people like this, but I didn't expect this one to be so difficult to deal with, like a dog's skin plaster that can't be shaken off. I just don't understand why someone would ruin themselves to love someone else. It's tiring to not be afraid of being called a fool. At this point, Feng Jia got even more excited, her eyebrows raised fiercely, her fists clenched tightly, and she felt a bit gnashing her teeth. What she didn't know was that these 4 sentences had pierced into her cousin Tang Yi's lungs without exception. Chapter 2, Handsome and humorous, yet no one likes me. Is this all just self-pity? Tang Yi laughed bitterly to himself. This sentence sounded so familiar because it was exactly what Jiyu Qingyu had said to him yesterday. Yesterday, Tang Yi had once again gathered the courage to confess to her. He really hoped that after so much persistence, Jiyu Qingyu would give him a chance. But the outcome was still the same. Jiyu Qingyu stared at him coldly, unwilling to accept the rose he had handed her. She still stood out in the crowd, shining with beauty, the goddess everyone adored. This was the first time Jiu Qingyu had rejected him, but yesterday's tone was especially frosty. Tang Yi, I don't like roses. Take it and leave. Don't get self-deceived. We really can never be together. Tang Yi was confused. She didn't like roses. He had seen Jiu Qingyu carrying a bouquet of roses last week, smiling gently as she walked back to the dorm. He had loved her so carefully, never doing anything without being sure. He thought she must have liked roses. Just like with bubble tea, every time he would ask her what flavor she liked, though she rarely accepted it, and when she did, she would always pass it to her roommates. He had tried so hard with little romantic gestures, preparing gifts with all the money he saved, but in the end, they always ended with a simple, I don't like it. This girl seemed to specialize in disappointing others. The four of them had spent nearly 10 hours making handmade beef balls, only to be met with a thanks, but I don't want any. Last night, Tang Yi had laid in bed, feeling miserable and thinking about everything. This morning, his cousin had called, asking him to accompany her to kill time while waiting for a ride, which had made him feel a little better. But now, the pain he had momentarily forgotten seemed to hit him again, and he didn't know how to express his emotions. What interrupted his thoughts was the sound of an urgent phone ringing. Feng Jia answered it and stood up to grab her bag. After saying a few OKs, she hung up and waved goodbye to Tang Yi. Bro, my carpool is downstairs. I need to go. Oh, I almost forgot. This is something from Auntie that she asked me to give you. She said if you're short on money, just let her know. I'm leaving now, and remember to check out later. With that, Feng Jia hurriedly turned and left the room, leaving Tang Yi with a small bag. Tang Yi was puzzled. What could it be? He opened the bag and found an exquisite tin box. Inside, there was an old photo and a note. The photo showed a young woman with delicate, sweet features, holding a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes. On the back, in neat handwriting, it said, 1998, Xia Yi is 4 months old. Tang Yi felt a mix of emotions he couldn't describe. He picked up the note and read it. Within seconds, tears began to well up in his eyes. It suddenly occurred to him that after Jiu Qingyu had rejected him last week, he had gotten drunk and, in his tipsy state, sent a message to his mom. He had jokingly asked, Mom, I'm so handsome and humorous, why don't any girls like me? At the time, his mom hadn't replied. But the note in his hand seemed to answer that question. Son, remember you asked why no girl likes you. What I want to say is why not? Look at this photo. When I first met you, I was only in my 20s. Back then, I didn't have any wrinkles, my face was still youthful and fresh, my back wasn't bent, and I could still wear pretty makeup. We hadn't known each other for long when I fell deeply in love with you. So, baby, don't lose confidence. Cheer up, okay? Chapter 3, Look Up, Clear Sky Ahead. Tang Yi sat on the edge of his bed, letting the tears flow down his face for nearly 10 minutes. Last night, he had been wondering, was it really worth it? Every day, he watched his phone, hoping to catch any new updates on Jiu Qingyu's WeChat moments or her social media. He would nervously think of new romantic ideas, little tricks to win her over. It felt like he was the moon, orbiting around the Earth, desperately trying to align his trajectory with Jiu Qingyu's. The note had only a few lines, but they hit him like a massive meteor crashing into his chest. Clearly, he was his parents' pride too. They would worry about his happiness just as much as he did for Jiu Qingyu. Was this the way things went? People who love you are taken for granted, while you chase after what you can't have, ignoring what you should cherish? Why had he spent 3/4 of his living expenses and almost all his university time on something like this? Was it all just to annoy people and end up with the label of a sticky plaster? To make Jiu Qingyu frown every time she saw him, her face full of distaste. Tang Yi felt lost, his gaze unconsciously drifting toward the window, following the sunlight coming through to the sky. Why have I never noticed how beautiful the sky is? He let out a self-deprecating smile, shook his head, and stood up to leave the room. It was as if he was making a promise to himself. Once he stepped through that door, he would be himself again, start a new chapter of university life. Regret? Yes, he regretted it, but those self-pitying clichés were better left unsaid. What a fool he had been. How had he not looked up at the sky sooner? But it wasn't too late now. The sky over Jinghai was still as clear and cloudless as ever. At Jinghai University of Technology, Tang Yi went to the number 2 dining hall alone for lunch. He didn't meet up with his roommates instead, he wanted to take a walk around campus after eating. After all, he had always neglected the campus in his obsession with Jiu Qingyu, even though it was a famous scenic spot and had been named one of the top 10 most beautiful campuses for years. But as he walked past their Yi Jian milk tea shop, a hurried male voice called out to him. "Hey, Tang bro, you walked past the shop. Your milk tea isn't ready yet." Suddenly called out, Tang Yi snapped out of his thoughts and realized just how stupid he was. In his pursuit of Jiu Qingyu, he had made a habit of getting milk tea every day. After learning that she liked Yi Jian milk tea, he'd gone over to chat with the shop owner, Liu Ji, to save money. After a long conversation and some smoking, they became buddies, and Liu Ji gave him a discount, offering 20% off for a monthly subscription. Every day before lunch, Tang Yi would go pick up his milk tea, and Liu Ji would prepare it in advance. Now, walking back into the shop and seeing Liu Ji holding his milk tea with a smile, Tang Yi fell into a heavy silence. "Liu Ji, is it ready?" "Of course, bro. You don't trust my speed. I always make it in advance so you're not late meeting up with Jiu Qingyu, right?" "Oh, he. By the way, Liu Ji, I probably don't have much time left on my subscription, right? Only 3 more days, no problem. We're brothers. If you're short on cash, just owe me. Pay me all at once when you can." Liu Ji smiled and patted Tang Yi's shoulder, then leaned in closer and whispered in his ear. "I just noticed, Jiu Qingyu is heading toward the playground. You should seize the opportunity." Tang Yi was completely dumbfounded. In the past, he would have found Liu Ji's advice thoughtful. But now, the more he heard, the more he felt like slapping himself. The milk tea was ready, and since he had already paid, Tang Yi reluctantly accepted it. He didn't want to chat any longer, just waved and left the shop. "Forget it, Liu Ji, I won't be renewing. No need to prepare it for the next 2 days either. Use the extra money to buy some cigarettes." With that, Tang Yi quickly left the milk tea shop, leaving Liu Ji utterly stunned. What the hell? What's going on? Not renewing. Not preparing the milk tea for the next 2 days. Has the school goddess switched to another milk tea brand? After a few seconds of daze, Liu Ji considered running out to try to convince him again, but when he looked at the direction Tang Yi was walking, he was completely frozen. That expression, it was as if he had just seen a ghost in broad daylight. Was Ti just saying Jiu Qingyu was heading to the playground? Why is this guy walking in the opposite direction? On the other side, Tang Yi really did feel like an idiot. He hadn't noticed the little note stuck to their milk tea cup. It was their daily romantic quote that he always asked Liu Ji to stick on his cup for him. He knocked his head lightly. He really wanted to know what was written on the note this time. The milk tea was definitely not something he could throw away. He had paid for it, and if he didn't drink it, he could give it to his roommates later. But Tang Yi quickly pulled the note off the cup and threw it in the trash bin with a perfect arc. As he admired the campus scenery, he didn't notice the 3 girls walking ahead. They were all wearing pretty little dresses and light makeup, radiating youthful energy. The girl in the middle, however, stood out the most. Her beautiful face made it impossible to look away after just one glance. Her floral white dress accentuated her figure, and her long, slim legs, white and flawless, were absolutely stunning. When she smiled, her crescent-shaped eyes were especially captivating. She was none other than the goddess of Jinghai University of Technology. Jiu Qingyu. Yeah, look, it's that guy, Tang Yi. He's really like a sticky plaster, can't get rid of him no matter what. Even when we took a shortcut around the playground, he still followed us. It's so annoying. The girl to the right of Jiu Qingyu noticed Tang Yi and immediately stopped smiling, her face turning cold. Another girl joined in. The most annoying thing is how he acts every time. He's clearly following you, but pretends like he doesn't know we're here, like a complete hypocrite. Look at him now. He's pretending not to notice us at all. I really hate this fake attitude. Why don't we go a different way to avoid him? So he doesn't pull any tricks. Chapter 4, Drinking the Milk Tea by Yourself, Is the School Beauty Anxious? The 2 girls nodded at the same time, but Jiu Qingyu raised her eyebrows and shook her head. She is worthy of being the school beauty who can make people lose their souls. Even a simple eyebrow-raising action is so beautiful and lovable. Jiyu Qingyu opened her red lips slightly, making a clear and pleasant sound, but her tone was very impatient. Avoid him. How can we avoid him? You know how difficult Tang Yi is. If we avoid him now, he will appear in front of us from nowhere in a moment. Did you see that cup of milk tea? He's the type who won't give up until he sees me throw away the milk tea. Hearing this, the two girls on the left and right nodded vigorously in agreement. Then the three of them walked towards Tang Yi side by side. Jiyu Qingyu's thoughts were simple. Today she just wanted to relax in peace and didn't want anyone to disturb her. Rather than unexpectedly seeing Tang Yi suddenly appearing, it would be better to cut the Gordian knot and give yourself some peace. She stood in front of Tang Yi angrily, and her face turned cold as she stretched out her hand. Give me the milk tea, and don't show up in front of me today. Tang Yi was startled when three people suddenly appeared. He was still concentrating on admiring the flowers blooming on the roadside of the school. The familiar voice and the same cold tone as always made him frown. He turned around and found that it was Jiyu Qingyu with her two NT roommates. It would be a lie to say that there was no ripple in his heart. It takes 21 days for people to get used to something. Tang Yi has been pursuing Jiyu Qingyu for more than a year, and just decided to give up today. But that was just a small ripple on the boundless lake, and it soon returned to calm. Tang Yi's gaze met Jiyu Qingyu's directly. This was the first time he dared to look her in the eye. She was still as beautiful as ever, without any change, but Tang Yi felt that she was not as pretty as before. Milk tea. Senior sister, please, what should I drink if you give me milk tea? Jiyu Qingyu was slightly stunned and looked at Tang Yi in disbelief. What the hell? I took the initiative to ask for it, so how did he react? It was clearly just a little bit of milk tea that she liked to drink. Could it be that this was tea for her? Did you buy this milk tea for yourself? Jiyu Qingyu asked a question that made Tang Yi want to laugh. Many people are like this in reality. When they get used to others being nice to them and then they don't get that kindness in return, they will become confused or even angry. I did give the school beauty a cup of milk tea every day before, but this doesn't seem to be a certainty, right? If I don't give her this cup, she still finds it a little weird. Tang Yi did not reply to Jiyu Qingyu. Instead, he took out a straw and started drinking in front of her, then shrugged and smiled. Of course. Why would I buy this if I don't drink it myself? Senior sister, if you want to drink, just buy it yourself. Why are you trying to grab it? It's over there, Xintiandi milk tea shop. The owner is Brother Liu. You can get a 20% discount if you mention my name. These words fell clearly into Jiyu Qingyu's ears, making her frown. What exactly does Tang Yi mean? Following me here, taking the milk tea you send me every day? Then he drank it in front of me and told me to buy it myself if I wanted to drink it. Isn't this just plain disgusting? Isn't this too despicable? Jiyu Qingyu's face turned black with anger, and the little sister next to her spoke first. Tang Yi, you are going too far, aren't you? Qingyu rejected you yesterday, but this isn't the first time she's rejected you, right? Are you really that serious? Following us on purpose to disgust us? Can you be a little more normal? What good will it do you to deliberately anger Qingyu? Are you changing your strategy from impressing her to trying to make her love you out of hatred? Please, brother, be healthy and be a normal man, okay? I don't know if it's an illusion, but the wind in my ears has stopped blowing and nature seems to be silent. Silence is Tang Yi at this moment. He really couldn't hold it in any longer. He had been deliberately avoiding the playground when strolling around, so how did he run into her? Just forget about it. What are these three doing? Did I pay any attention to you? Why don't you just rush over and make trouble? First, I know you went to the playground but deliberately didn't go in the direction of the playground. It's my pure bad luck to run into you. Secondly, I drank the milk tea by myself. Did I say it was for you, Campus Beauty GU? You were the one who rushed over to take it, right? Did I say a word from beginning to end? Third, it's 1:40 now. Our class has to meet with the new instructor at 2 o'clock. I'm going to be late. I wonder if you have heard of the old saying that a good dog should not be in the right place. Chapter 5 Tang Yi, I wonder how long you can pretend. Good dog. Doesn't block the road. Dog? Block the road. Jiyu Qingyu and the other two were frightened by Tang Yi, which gave Tang Yi the opportunity to leave. He didn't say another word, just smiled slightly and left without looking back as he did at the beginning. At this moment, the air seemed to be frozen. This was the first time Jiu Qingyu looked back at his back. After staring for about 3 seconds, a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Let's go quickly, it looks like he won't follow us today. Really? Who are you deliberately showing off your arrogance to? Do you really think I'll fall for it? Is Tang Yi acting on purpose? Jiu Qingyu thinks he must be. He just let it slip himself, he knew we were coming to the playground. You act so indifferent, but aren't you still trying hard to find out about my situation behind my back? You deliberately didn't go to the playground, but you also deliberately followed us, right? Otherwise, how could we have run into you by such a coincidence? Did you drink milk tea on purpose to irritate me? It's just a cup of milk tea, shouldn't you give it to me tomorrow? Humph, I wish you could give me some peace like this. I want to see how long you can pretend. On the other side, Tang Yi, who was walking towards the teaching building, was stunned where he was because a prompt sound rang in his ears. Congratulations to the host for completing the transformation and successfully awakening the happy life selection system. Faced with various choices, the host can get different rewards. Note, all are from reasonable sources, please rest assured. The brief prompt sound made Tang Yi feel numb. Awakening system. Isn't this the standard configuration for the protagonist of a novel? Has my brother become a man of destiny? Tang Yi is no stranger to the system, to put it simply, it is a mountain of gold and silver with tremendous power. I wonder what it means to see the sunrise through the clouds. He was so excited that he was almost numb. God is kind, fate is not hard on the poor. Just as Tang Yi was about to study the functions and uses of the system carefully, 3 figures resembling big black rats rushed past him. Especially the last one, which included a slap on his butt. What are you doing, old Tang? Are you thinking about how to please the school beauty again? Stop standing there and get to the classroom. You'll be late in 3 minutes. A new official has 3 things to do when he takes office. If you are late for the first class, you will kill the new instructor. Tang Yi then realized that there were only 3 minutes left before class, so he quickly joined the group of people running. Well, now it's just for big rats running around. They successfully arrived at the lecture hall on time. Fortunately, the new instructor had not arrived yet, otherwise they would have been criticized for being on time. After sitting down, Tang Yi did not join the group of people bragging, but started to study the system he had just obtained. At this time, downstairs in the teaching building, Sumuyan ran towards the classroom with an anxious look on her face. Oh no, I'm late for my first class. How can I establish my authority in front of my classmates? Not only that, Sumuyan was thinking about another thing in her mind. She came to school yesterday. Yesterday she witnessed with her own eyes a boy being cruelly rejected by a school beauty and also heard 2 sentences. What is, since ancient times, deep affection cannot be retained, so just lick it to the deepest part. Or, be the most humble licker for the most elegant goddess. Sumuyan didn't understand. How could a gentleman be a good match for a beautiful lady be considered a licker? This word was not nice and appropriate. It can be seen that the confession scene was arranged very carefully, but even though the boy deliberately chose a place with few people, there were still many classmates watching. She is a psychology major, and when she saw the disappointed look in the boy's eyes, she was a little worried that it might bring him some bad thoughts or pressure. Paying special attention to this boy, Sumuyan was surprised to find that he was Tang Yi, a student in the class she was going to teach. This requires some psychological work, because there are quite a few tragedies caused by similar things. Soon, Sumuyan arrived at the classroom door. She tidied her hair and then opened the door and walked into the classroom. Chapter 6 Beautiful Professor Sumuyan, the Hobbit system is too stingy. This is the 3-foot podium that Sumuyan had thought about standing on countless times. As a recent graduate, she has an inexplicable confidence and enthusiasm for teaching on stage. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but smile slightly, straightened her back, and walked towards the podium confidently. Her appearance also attracted the attention of the whole class. After all, people are always curious about new things, let alone a freshly minted counselor. The next second, there were sounds of people gasping for air. Sumuyan's outfit is really amazing, with a knitted V-neck short sleeves, an exquisite jewel necklace on the chest, and the hem of the skirt falling to the calves. The whole outfit is dignified and elegant and highlights her temperament. Her appearance is even more outstanding, with bright eyes, white teeth, and a delicate oval face. At first glance, she gives people an ultimate attraction that makes you unable to take your eyes off her. Sumuyan took a graceful step, and when she stood on the podium, she looked at the students below who were staring at her. She felt a little nervous, but it quickly disappeared. As she opened her red lips, a pleasant and crisp voice emanated. "Hello, students. Nice to meet you. I am your future counselor, Sumuyan. If nothing unexpected happens, I will be the one leading you all until graduation. Please take good care of me. Actually, this is my first time standing on the podium. There are two types of teachers who can best control students. The first type is intimidating without being angry, and gives people a sense of oppression just standing there, like our homeroom teacher in junior high and high school. The other type is like Sumuyan, who unconsciously draws everyone's attention to her when she speaks, and they even forget to whisper. Sumuyan smiled gracefully and talked freely. According to the original idea, I started to talk about myself and have a heart-to-heart talk with the students. No one in the audience spoke and the whole place was silent. But, who knows how happy those students who have calm expressions are feeling now. I heard that the class next door has a new humorous uncle teacher as the instructor. Oh, I really envy them for having humorous teachers who make the classes very interesting. Unlike us, we have a fairy-like beautiful instructor who is so pretty that we can only save money on meals. Brothers, let's be honest, with the instructor's looks, why would we want to look at the school beauty in the future? She is gentle and interesting, isn't she better than that expressionless school beauty? How dare you say that my Qingyu has facial paralysis? Are you crazy? Aren't you afraid that Tang Yi will come and bite you when he finds out? Sumuyan saw everyone's eye contact, but she didn't pay much attention to it. Instead, she occasionally looked towards the last row of the classroom. Tang Yi sat there with his head down, never looking at her directly. Tang Yi was wearing the same outfit he wore yesterday, so when Sumuyan entered the classroom she was sure that this was him, the affectionate boy who was ruthlessly rejected by the school belle. Sumuyan is thinking a lot now, all of which are about Tang Yi's speculations. Sitting in the last row is a sign of avoidance, and keeping your head down all the time is a sign of deep lack of self-confidence. Has he not yet recovered from the failure of his confession yesterday? I heard that he had been confessing to Jiyu Qingyu before, but was always rejected. You know what, Tang Yi is a good-looking boy, clean and handsome. Why didn't Jiyu Qingyu want to give it a try? 10 minutes passed quietly as she thought and talked, and Sumuyan clapped her hands gently. Okay, students, we just talked about the problem of attending classes, so next let's talk about the problem of skipping classes. You should all be aware that our school has always attached great importance to class attendance. After all, you are still students. But as students in my class, I am willing to give you 2 chances to skip class. After all, there are always more important things than attending class, such as the reeds outside the building and the moonlight in the sky. The moment Sumuyan finished speaking, a cry of surprise was heard in the classroom. They all came here with excellent college entrance examination scores, so how could they not understand what Sumuyan meant? The reeds outside the building must represent sweet love, and the moonlight in the sky must represent the loved ones that one misses. At this moment, Tang Yi laughed out loud. He was not amused by Sumuyan's words, he didn't take her words to heart at all, but he was amused by the system. He had just studied the system thoroughly and found out that it would issue selection tasks from time to time, and he would get different rewards if he made different choices. You may gain happiness points afterwards, which can be exchanged for items in the system mall. This is very simple and easy to understand, but it has been half an hour since Tang Yi started meditating. Why has he been studying it for so long? He suddenly realized that he didn't have a novice gift package. Other people's systems had it, so how could he not have it? Therefore, Tang Yi took great pains and used his eloquence to extort a novice gift package. He thought it was either a BMW or a Porsche. Guess what happened? The Harpy system said it would reward him with a barbecue hidden in the alley and would cover all the expenses. Tang Yi, that's it? System, their host has no idea how delicious the barbecue is. Oh, by the way, does their host need to pay for the round-trip expenses himself? What the hell, you don't even pay for my round-trip fare. Is a system so stingy? Tang Yi was so angry that he couldn't help but slam the table a few times. He was really mad at this stingy system. At this moment, Sumuyan happened to talk about establishing a correct view of love. The sound of Tang Yi slamming the table was very light and did not attract the attention of his classmates, but his exaggerated movements and really angry expression were all seen by Sumuyan. Tang Yi frowned and recommended books. I raised my head and happened to meet her gaze. Chapter 7. What? Tang Yi was rejected and jumped into the lake. Whack, is this the new instructor? What's going on? Isn't this school just holding back everyone's grades? Oh yes, the instructor most likely doesn't teach, otherwise who would have the heart to attend class? Tang Yi noticed Sumuyan's gaze, smiled politely and nodded in response. This scene made Sumuyan even more stunned. Something worse happened than she had imagined. Tang Yi was actually smiling at her just now. She stared at Tang Yi smashing the table when she was talking about the correct way to love, and that was definitely anger and gnashing of teeth without a trace of other emotions. But smiling at her now, isn't this a kind of cover-up? Just like the students who give teachers the most headaches are not those who learn nothing, but those who study hard every day but get terrible grades. Some people are born to cover themselves with a cloak of disguise. Tang Yi should be one of these people, right? He was obviously upset after being rejected by Jiu Qingyu, but he still kept smiling to outsiders without showing his emotions and kept the sadness in his heart. This kind of people are most likely to have psychological problems. With this thought in mind, Sumuyan attended the following class meetings a little carelessly. But Tang Yi didn't take it seriously. He continued to concentrate on letting the system know what the anger of Zorn players was. The moment the bell rang, the system threw out the last choice. This is the gift pack for beginners, it's up to their host to choose whether to use it or not. This made Tang Yi so angry that he almost slapped himself twice because he couldn't access the system. Finally, he frowned and made a decision with gritted teeth. Go. Why shouldn't you enjoy the newbie gift package that you fought so hard for? It's definitely delicious, right? If this barbecue doesn't taste good, you'll have to wait for me. Tang Yi did not call his roommates. After all, the stingy system said that he would get the free meal, so he quickly left the classroom. Sumuyan, who was standing on the podium and still organizing her things, was stunned when she saw this. Her original intention was to ask Tang Yi to talk in private, but why did this guy run so fast? Withdrawing now? Sumuyan was a little panicked. She responded to the enthusiasm of her classmates with a smile, said that she had something urgent to tell her, and quickly left the classroom. There was no way. Tang Yi's performance made her too worried. The inexplicable smile he concealed, the angry smashing of the table, and the resolute look in his eyes when he left the classroom just now. That look really looked like he had to grit his teeth and choose the worst one between two extremely painful choices. When he left, he didn't call his roommates and left quickly, as if he didn't want anyone to know where he was going. Sumuyan couldn't help but think wildly and worry about his safety, while jogging to catch up with him. But she was still a step too late and watched Tang Yi get into a taxi at the school gate. What could have happened that would make you leave school alone and take a taxi with such a desperate look? I hope I'm just being overthinking. Once out of school, they are no longer under Sumuyan's jurisdiction, which means that even if Tang Yijin gets into trouble somewhere, it has nothing to do with her. But after comforting herself, she still felt a little uneasy. She sighed and resolutely reached out to stop a taxi. Master, please follow the taxi that starts with C21 in front. Just follow it wherever it goes. The taxi driver immediately became excited when he heard this. This must be a plot of stalking her boyfriend. Okay, beautiful lady, please sit down. On the other hand, Tang Yi was stunned when he got in the car. He thought, can you meet acquaintances just by taking a taxi? His driver was a young man of similar age named Jinghai, who was from the school next door. After graduating he couldn't find a job, so he started helping his father drive a sports car. Jinghai is the #1 pursuer of Jiu Qingyu's roommate Zhang Yaxin. At this moment, he is looking at Tang Yi with narrowed eyes and smiling. Hey, old Tang, have you made any progress in pursuing this school beauty? I have hope now. Yaxin called me last time she needed a car. You don't know, it was raining so hard that I drove my dad's car like a boat. I can't help it. The power of love is so great. Do you admire me, bro? I admire, what a great guy. Tang Yi smiled awkwardly. He didn't want to mention anything about Jiu Qingyu now, as it would easily ruin his good mood. The whole journey to Qianren Lake scenic area in the suburbs of Jinghai was tortured. When we arrived, Tang Yi paid the bill and got off the car, then drove around the artificial lake. It seems a bit early to go for a barbecue now, so it's better to go for a walk first. This scenic area is quite beautiful. However, Jinghai did not drive away directly, but looked at Tang Yi's back and looked down on him. You didn't even bring a cup of milk tea when you came to see Jiyu Qingyu? Old Tang, why don't you say you haven't made any progress? Jinghai understood clearly, why would Tang Yi be so bored as to come to the artificial lake? Then it must be Jiyu Qingyu here. With a narrowed eye and a smile, Jinghai dialed Zhang Yaxin's number. Hey, my Xintian baby, what are you doing? Stay. Don't lie, are you taking a walk around Qianren Lake? I'll come find you to buy some milk tea. Are you sick? Why would I come to the artificial lake when I have nothing better to do? Huh? Aren't you with school beauty Jiyu? Jinghai, are you sick? What are you talking about? Qingyu, we are playing cards in the dormitory. What artificial lake? Jinghai's hair went numb when he heard this. Jiyu Qingyu was in the dormitory, and Tang Yi was not here to find her, so why was he here at the lake? Recommended books. When old Tang left just now, his expression was so resolute, and he even looked a little disgusted with me. This is very abnormal. Qianren Lake, by the lake, it's terrifying when you think about it. It's over, Yaxin, hurry up and bring the school beauty Jiyu over here. If I'm not mistaken, Tang Yi was probably hurt by her yesterday and came here to commit suicide. Chapter 8 Jiyu Qingyu, is he just pretending to care about me? After listening to Jinghai's account of what happened, Zhang Yaxin was also slightly stunned. Yes, why did Tang Yi go to the lake when he had nothing to do? It was such a remote lake. There was a hint of worry in her eyes. After all, if Tang Yi really jumped, Jiyu Qingyu would be in a lot of trouble, and she had to consider her sisters. Yeah, he wouldn't. Zhang Yaxin was interrupted by Jiyu Qingyu before she could finish her words. She frowned with a helpless expression. He waved his hand and threw the cards in his hand, then said with wisdom in his eyes. He definitely won't, what are you thinking, Yaxin? If he jumps into the lake after being rejected by me, then Tang Yi would have jumped into the lake and gone home a long time ago. And even if he really wanted to jump, he should have called Jay instead of us going over. He has nothing to do with me. Besides, don't you think this is suspicious? How come Tang Yi happened to hit Jinghai's car when he was going to jump into the lake? It's obvious that he did it on purpose. He knew that Jinghai would guess where I was and call you. He planned this. He just wanted to pass this on to me through Jinghai and trick me into caring about him. Who would be fooled by such a childish trick? Jiyu Qingyu's analysis was well reasoned. Zhang Yaxin suddenly understood and nodded continuously. That's true, based on how often Yaya rejected Tang Yi, she couldn't even count how many times she jumped into the lake. It's really suspicious, this is all too coincidental. Tang Yi is too abominable, isn't he? Is he still a man? I deliberately gave Yaya milk tea to disgust her at noon, and now I'm doing this? I really have that guy tied up. Jinghai, you should stay away from him. It's almost 6 o'clock. Come back and pick us up now. We plan to go to the snack street in the north of the city later. I am happy today, so I will give you a chance to carry your bag. Originally Jinghai was very worried about Tang Yi, but after hearing their explanation he finally understood. Yes, Brother Tang is not so easily affected. He probably comes here to relax. Forget it, Brother Tang. Yaxin called me, so your life and death are determined by fate, and your wealth and honor are in the hands of God. Looking at Tang Yi sitting leisurely on the bench from afar, he felt relieved, then started the car and stepped on the accelerator. We'll be there in 20 minutes. At this moment, another taxi came speeding over. The taxi driver laughed excitedly when he saw Jinghai's car. Har har har, little sister, what did I say? He must have come to Qianren Lake. Although we were thrown off track at the red light at the intersection, based on my experience this must have been the case. Because apart from Qianren Lake, there is no other place here that is worth taking a taxi for college students. But, if your boyfriend comes here, it's probably to relax, not to find a mistress. Sumuyan had to admit that it was amazing that the driver could find the place accurately, but what on earth was it like to find the mistress? What the hell is a boyfriend? Hey, master, you misunderstood. A slight blush flashed across Professor Xiaosu's cheeks and then disappeared, but the current situation did not allow her to explain. Tang Yi came to this unfrequented lake alone with such a determined look. Isn't his purpose clear? Just because I was rejected by Jiyu Qingyu. Sumuyan frowned, paid quickly and got out of the car, thinking it would be a long process of finding someone. But after a quick glance, her eyes brightened, because Tang Yi was sitting firmly on a bench not far away. Phew, luckily I came quickly. Tang Yi was still hesitating and didn't jump down. Sumuyan patted her chest and sighed, and the next scene she saw made her heart hang in the air again. Tang Yi grabbed something on the ground, then suddenly sat up on the bench and rushed to the lake. From Sumuyan's perspective, he was rushing towards Tianren Lake at the speed of a 100-meter race. Tang Yi! Calm down. Sumuyan was startled and subconsciously shouted to stop Tang Yi while running towards him quickly. She was really scared. Did Tang Yi suddenly figure it out and was about to jump down? On the other side, Tang Yi was stunned when he heard someone calling him. Holy shit, has my network of contacts spread all over the world? Is there anyone who knows me in this remote place? Is she a girl? Why does her voice sound so familiar? Turning slightly, Tang Yi found Sumuyan running towards him. Sumuyan? Oh my goodness, Director Su. At this moment, Tang Yi felt like he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. He never expected to meet Sumuyan here. How long has the meeting been over? I ran here because the system was irritating me. Why did Director Su do that? Are you in such a hurry to come here to see the scenery right after the meeting? The moment he was stunned, Sumuyan had already run in front of him. The next second, she grabbed Tang Yi's hand with a snap and pulled him towards the bench with all her strength. Follow me. Although Sumuyan's behavior was full of doubts and Tang Yi wanted to ask, his mind was blank now. Well, it's not too embarrassing. This is the first time that a girl has held his hand so tightly. So, is this what it feels like? Sumuyan put her hands on her hips, frowned, and pointed at the bench angrily, motioning Tang Yi to sit down. Recommended books. After he sat down, she twisted his ear without saying a word and without caring about her personal image. Tang Yi, are you mistaken? Isn't it just that you were rejected by a girl? Are you really going to jump into the lake? Do you know that this is an extremely irresponsible behavior? At this moment, Tang Yi was a little confused. MDFK. After being rejected by a girl, I jumped into the lake. Chapter 9. I'm sorry, teacher. I've been under too much pressure lately. Oh, Director Su, what's in your delicate little head? The more Tang Yi thought about it, the more speechless he became. He was angered by the system and came here to eat barbecue. He just asked the boss and waited half an hour before starting the meal. You can't just sit there and watch the boss skewer meat, right? Looking at the lake can also kill time, right? But it was boring to just wait and watch the lake, so Tang Yigang suddenly had an idea and decided to pick up a stone to see how far he could throw it. My goodness, is there any step from the beginning to the end that involves jumping into the lake? Director Su, I'm not going to jump into the lake. You even said that I just saw you were about to rush into the lake. If I hadn't run over to grab you, you would be gurgling on the surface of the lake right now. My dear Director Su, I just grumbled in the class group at most. I really didn't want to jump into the lake. Tang Yi tried hard to explain, but Sumuyan obviously didn't believe it, which was evident from the way her raised eyebrows looked. There was no way. What she saw just now was too real, but at this moment she was obviously stunned. Oh, Sumuyan, yes, what's the point of you questioning Tang Yi so harshly? Is the point now to make Tang Yi admit that he wants to jump into the lake? No. Obviously you should give him some advice instead of forcing him to admit something in such a harsh way. After a brief self-blame, Sumuyan's expression eased a lot, revealing a graceful, generous, playful and cute smile. She also sat down, shoulder to shoulder with Tang Yi, then lowered her head slightly, bent over and looked up at him. Okay, Xiao Tang Yi, I know you don't want to jump into the lake. Maybe I misunderstood just now. The main reason is that I noticed that you were not in the right state during class. When I was talking about the concept of love, you were grinning and gritting your teeth, and finally left the classroom angrily. Well, you have something on your mind, right? If you don't mind, tell me about it. There are only two of us here. I promise to keep this a secret and not let anyone else know. Hearing this, Tang Yi widened his eyes and looked at Sumuyan in disbelief. Director Su, so you came here, didn't you think I was in a bad mood and followed me all the way here? During the meeting, Tang Yi managed to hear a few words. It seemed that Sumuyan was a master's degree holder in psychology. There was no one else by the lake. It would be abnormal for her to come here instead of staying in school at this time, and it would be even more abnormal for her to come alone. The only explanation is that she feels that my mental state is not right and is afraid that I will do something stupid. She just said that she was rejected by a girl. Damn, she must have heard about my story. No wonder she looked at me when she was talking about her views on love in the meeting. Only then did Tang Yi completely understand Sumuyan's eyes at that time. Although I don't want to admit it, yes, it turns out that my trip was not in vain. Sumuyan nodded generously, and a faint fragrance wafted out when she moved the hair that was hanging down to cover her face. There were traces of sweat on his forehead, which stuck a few strands of hair tightly together, giving it a sense of messy beauty. Without waiting for Tang Yi to speak, she thought for a moment and continued to explain. I noticed you were not in the right state during the meeting, and your expression was so resolute when you left. I just thought you were going to do something stupid, so I followed you. You are such an eye-opener, coming to such a remote lake and trying to jump in right in front of me. Looking at Sumuyan's gnashing teeth expression, Tang Yi found her so cute no matter how he looked at her. Isn't he 3 or 4 years older than us? Why does he seem less mature than his classmates? To be honest, Tang Yi's heart was warm, although he would never do something as outrageous as jumping into the lake. But Sumuyan could have chosen not to do this. To avoid taking responsibility? Once she leaves school, she has nothing to do with him. A hint of bitterness flashed across Tang Yi's mouth, and then he continued to explain. We have to explain things clearly to avoid making Professor Su worry, right? Director Su, I really don't want to jump into the lake. Okay, I believe you. Tell me the truth, what are you thinking now? I didn't think much of it, and your expression clearly shows that you don't believe it, right? I really believe it. You, Tang Yi, didn't rush to the lake just now to jump into it, but to wash your hands by the lake, right? At this moment, Tang Yi suddenly understood why his father would always be so depressed that he would smoke cigarettes after every quarrel with his mother. It's really impossible to reason with a woman. What can we do if she doesn't believe us after we tell her? Tang Yi was helpless, and just when he was worrying about how to explain to Sumuyan, a mean reminder sound rang in his ears. Facing the misunderstanding about Sumuyan jumping into the lake, please make the following choice. Choice 1, keep explaining until she believes it. Reward, the title of the silver tongue. Choice 2, turn misunderstanding into reality, dare to think and act, jump into the lake in front of her when she isn't paying attention. Reward, help you get a good rebirth. Choice 3, no explanation, ride the donkey downhill, and tell Sumuyan that you are under a lot of pressure recently. Reward, 10 happiness points. Note, if their host chooses option 3, he will obtain special props provided by the system. A silver tongue, a rich woman's ecstasy. It's a pity that it's just a title. Jump in front of Professor Su. First of all, Tang Yi didn't want to be so mean, and secondly, he didn't want to say goodbye to this beautiful world, as he had so many more beautiful things to experience. Tang Yi made a choice immediately. 10 happiness points can be redeemed from the system mall. Recommended books. It's time to change to the most basic reward, and the current situation seems to be the most reasonable to follow Sumuyan's advice. 5 seconds later, Tang Yi sighed deeply, holding his head with one hand and speaking with a look of masculinity. I'm sorry, teacher. I've been under too much pressure lately. Chapter 10 Tang Yi, let me hug you. Tang Yi overlooked one thing, that is, the system just mentioned that there would be special props for making choice 3. He forgot, but it was not a big problem. As the most considerate system in the world, it chose to take the initiative to help Tang Yi activate this magical function. As a result, Tang Yi just finished speaking, he felt his nose was sore and runny. Not only that, my eyes felt like they were smoked by a ton of chili peppers, so spicy. As the saying goes, men don't shed tears easily, but Tang Yi's tears burst out violently. This scene really stunned Sumuyan. She suddenly understood why Tang Yi jumped into the lake. He really must be under a lot of pressure. He cried so heartbreakingly. He must have been holding back all these tears for a long time, right? Oh my god, he was crying so sadly and his tears couldn't stop flowing. Sumuyan rummaged through her pocket for a tissue and handed it to Tang Yi, but Tang Yi now looked like a tearful man reborn. Tang Yi, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have touched your sore spot. Oh my god, please don't be so sad, okay? If you have something bothering you, you can. What Sumuyan wanted to say was, wouldn't it be better if you could talk about your troubles? But she realized that if she let Tang Yi confide in her, wouldn't that make him think about it again and might make him even sadder? So forget it. Now she didn't know how to start to persuade, nor did she know how to interrupt to comfort. As a master of psychology, Sumuyan was really frightened by Tang Yi's behavior. At the same time, she was a little heartbroken by Tang Yi's crying. As we all know, emotions are contagious. After only 3 seconds of thinking, Sumuyan made a decision. Without saying anything, she simply stretched out her arms and hugged Tang Yi. When people are about to have an emotional breakdown, a hug is definitely the best medicine. On the other side, Tang Yi, feeling the soft body in his arms, stopped his cordial greeting to the system. Didn't he curse this second stroke system in his heart just now? Can't we just not use this kind of cheating tool next time? It's okay to use it to stimulate emotions, but isn't this too much? Director Su, I'm fine, please let me go. Tang Yi wanted to ride the donkey downhill and didn't want to explain why he got the system's reward, but that didn't mean he wanted to use this emotional trick to trick Sumuyan into a hug. Well, it means taking advantage. It's really soft though and feels wonderful. But the next second he felt Sumuyan rubbing his shoulder. Maybe she was shaking her head? Then a clear and pleasant voice like a mountain lark was heard. No, 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 Tang Yi, let me hug you again. I know you must need comfort right now. A hug will make you feel much better because it lets you know that someone cares about you. Like you just said, I know you are under a lot of pressure, and I have also heard others mention what you have done for Ji Qingyu. You like her. This may be known to the whole school. You have confessed to her countless times, and you do everything so romantically. In fact, no matter whether she accepts this kindness in the end, you have done your best to live up to the love in your heart, right? So don't be stressed out, and don't have any thoughts of committing suicide. I will be your class leader from now on. If you have any questions or difficulties, you can always come to me. Sumuyan really felt sorry for Tang Yi, whether it was because of the carefully prepared confession scene yesterday that she envied but ended in disappointment, or because of Tang Yi's resolute and unshakable look. How much does he love that girl named Ji Qingyu to be willing to put aside his dignity and allow her to refute and reject his kindness again and again? Sumuyan didn't understand. She only remembered that her father said that men are very concerned about their reputation, and it is very important to give face to the men around you at all times. Director Su, let me tell you the truth. I don't plan to continue pursuing Ji Qingyu. So, don't worry, I'm fine. Tang Yi was also frightened by Sumuyan's behavior, and felt very uncomfortable. On the first day of taking office as a counselor, Sumuyan followed him all the way here just because she saw that he was in a bad mood and had a strange look in his eyes, worried that he might commit suicide. What did he give Sumuyan? The troubles that came with his employment. What about Ji Qingyu? I had been so good to her, caring for her in every possible way, and always meeting her requests, but what did I get in return? It was already past 4 in the afternoon, and the sun was about to slip away quietly from the west, but Tang Yi felt that the light was still so dazzling. Indeed, looking up can help people see through many things. You really won't chase me anymore? Are you sure? Well, I confirmed it yesterday. Then why did you jump into the lake just now? Director Su, I actually didn't plan to jump into the lake. I came here to have a barbecue. Hearing this, Sumuyan burst out laughing. Eating barbecue? There are so many signature barbecue places in the city. Why not come to the lake to eat barbecue? Tang Yi's reason is too far-fetched, isn't it? Are you treating me like a 3-year-old kid? She complained in her heart, but didn't intend to make a fuss about it. Forget it, no need to explain, just let it go. Okay, Director Su. Tang Yi smiled playfully, and at this time Sumuyan also opened her arms and let him go. It seems. Tang Yi really seems to have figured it out. Well, this look shouldn't deceive people. Phew, that's good. After they sat down, the atmosphere suddenly became a little silent. Both of them wanted to speak but I don't know what to say. At this moment, Tang Yi noticed that there was a wisp of smoke rising from the barbecue restaurant. He still remembered what the boss had told him, that once the smoke started, they could start grilling and eating. He smiled at Sumuyan and pointed to the barbecue restaurant. Director Su, you've been so worried about me. Let's go, I'll treat you to a barbecue. My friend recommended this place to me. This barbecue restaurant is top-notch and the best barbecue in Jinghai. Sumuyan did plan to counsel Tang Yi further, and chatting while eating was a good choice. How could we let Tang Yi treat us? He is still in school and doesn't he have much living expenses, so he just rushed to pay the bill. The two walked along the path of Tianren Lake Park towards the barbecue restaurant, and at this time Zhang Heng's taxi stopped at the roadside outside the park again. Chapter 11 Jiyu Qingyu, my kindness is no better than feeding a dog. Zhang Heng's love for Zhang Yaxin is absolute. After all, she is always by Jiyu Qingyu's side. Zhang Heng can even ignore the fact that the gorgeous campus beauty falls in love with her. The four of them got off the car together and started walking around Tianren Lake Park. Suddenly, Zhang Yaxin became interested. By the way, Zhang Heng, this is where Tang Yi came from at that time, right? Why didn't I see him? Could it be that he had already jumped? Let me see where he is grunting. Zhang Heng took a breath of cold air. Oh my god, could you please not be so scary? Jump down, brother Tang, where are you bubbling? At this time, another girl named Yao Wenwen spoke up. How could he jump down? Not to mention that Tang Yi deliberately deceived Xingyue's concern. Even if he really jumped, after such a long time, I'm afraid that a cordon would have been set up around him to rescue him. I think Tang Yi realized that his plan had failed and Yeye didn't care about him, so he went back to the dormitory disappointedly to think of a new way to win Yeye's favor. Like Yao Wenwen and Zhang Yaxin, she is also a good sister of Jiyu Qingyu and has her own unique insights. The three of them together form a wise little group. Her speculation was unanimously agreed by the other three people present, especially Jiyu Qingyu. She felt that what Yao Wenwen said was absolutely right. After all, the facts were there. Tang Yi was gone, wasn't he? To be honest, although it was really convenient to come to Tianren Lake, it was Jiyu Qingyu who suggested going down and taking a walk around. She felt that she was the type of person who was hard on the outside but soft on the inside. Even though she said that she would never comfort Tang Yi, she was not afraid that he would get upset. But after thinking about it, she decided to come over and take a look. He has been chasing me for so long, so I think it's a credit to him. Anyway, he will be happy for a long time just by looking at me. But after going around in circles and not finding Tang Yi, Jiyu Qingyu was really furious, and even her delicate little face turned completely dark. He definitely didn't jump. There was no cordon, which meant Tang Yi had already left. Otherwise, why had we not seen him after going around in a circle? It's really funny. Jiyu Qingyu thought she arrived really quickly. It hadn't even been an hour since Zhang Heng called her. So Tang Yi deliberately tricked her into coming here, and left without even waiting for an hour? Before, he was willing to wait for 2 hours downstairs of her dormitory even if he had a fever of 38 degrees. Not to mention that he is better than other suitors, but after being rejected by me again, he is no longer as good as before. The more Jiyu Qingyu thought about it, the angrier she became. She felt that the kindness she had shown today was no better than feeding it to a dog. Oh Tang Yi, is this what you told me you would do anything for me? Can't wait, right? When you confess your love next time, I will make you wait until dark and you won't be able to see me. Let's go. There's only one lake. It's boring. Jiyu Qingyu curled her lips secretly, waved her hand and turned to leave, but Zhang Yaxin, who was a little hungry, became interested in the barbecue restaurant not far away. She swallowed unconsciously and then suggested. Yeah, when, are you hungry? How about we eat something at this barbecue restaurant first? Let's go to the night market for some snacks later. Jiyu Qingyu and Yao Wenwen looked in the direction of her finger and saw a barbecue restaurant with a very luxurious decoration. GUDA Campus Beauty suddenly thought of a saying, good wine needs no bush. Their boss must have something to rely on to dare to invest so much to open such a grand barbecue restaurant in this remote place. She became interested and really wanted to go and try it. But before she and Yao Wenwen could reply, Zhang Heng spoke with a bitter look on his face. Yaxin baby, logically I should respect your suggestion the most. But I think it's better for us not to try this barbecue restaurant. My friend and I ate here last time. The price was really cheap and the portion was huge. But the smell, how can I describe it? Even the dogs shook their heads when they smelled it. Damn it, after that time, we directly listed this restaurant as the worst barbecue restaurant in Jinghai City, no doubt about it. On the other side, at Yichuanyuan barbecue restaurant, Tang Yi and Sumuyan waited for the first skewer of meat to be brought up by the boss. Originally, Tang Yi thought that barbecue cannot be paired with draft beer, but when he thought of Sumuyan being there, he had to give up and had a drink instead. He was a little hungry to begin with, and this meal was filled with resentment towards a certain harpy system, but to be reasonable. The skewers of meat were right in front of him, so why was Tang Yi so resistant at first? How come this barbecue, which is praised by the system as the most delicious in the whole Jinghai, does not arouse people's appetite at all? Maybe it just doesn't look good, like stinky tofu, it smells bad but tastes good. Director Su, try it. Even though it may not look very good, the taste is absolutely amazing. Tang Yi gritted his teeth and forced himself to explain, while picking up a skewer of meat and starting to eat. At the moment of entrance, he was really pushed back. I was shocked. What the hell is going on? Is this a barbecued kebab? It's definitely not just a charred crust in disguise. What is that smell? My roommates all shook their heads when they smelled it. Can the barbecue chef be taken out and shot for 10 minutes? Su Muyun, who was sitting opposite him, also picked up a skewer of meat and started biting it. She felt the same as Tang Yi. Even her expression at this moment was more exciting than Tang Yi's. Was Tang Yi's previous life so bitter that he lost his taste buds? Tang Yi, is Jiu Qingyu working part-time as a barbecue chef here? Recommended books. How is it possible? Have you ever eaten at this barbecue restaurant together? Neither do I. So this store is owned by her family? Of course not. Then explain to me, why do you think this is the best barbecue in Jinghai City? Chapter 12. Where is the barbecue master? Watch and learn. Facing Su Muyun's questioning, Tang Yi became angrier, and his heart was roaring at the same time. Tang Yi, what a draft system. Get out here and explain to me how this is the most delicious barbecue. Tang Yi, did you grow up with Lao Ba? Do you think this toy is delicious? System. Ding, a warm reminder, the host can spend 10 happiness points in the system store to exchange for top-level cooking skills. In exchange, the host will personally go to the kitchen and get the most delicious barbecue in Jinghai City and even the whole country. You stay with me. Tang Yi was really furious. How could he end up with such a stupid system? If that's the case, then the barbecue will be the best anywhere, so why come to Tianren Lake? Tang Yi, explanation, I need an explanation. System, my newbie gift package was just a lie. I really didn't expect you to pay for a taxi and come here to eat. Damn you. Tang Yi really wanted to curse, but it was obvious that there were more important things to deal with now. Tang Yi thought that he could not let Su Muyun down no matter what. He has been busy for so long just for us and cares about us and is so nice to us. In the end, we turned against her and fed her poison. Tang Yi felt that he should be condemned by heaven and earth. This was not a human thing to do. How about we change to another store? Su Muyun was really scared of Tang Yi. She was a big foodie. But this barbecue really gave her no compliments. No need, Director Su, I must let you eat the most delicious barbecue today. After saying that, Tang Yi stood up, rolled up his sleeves and rushed to the kitchen, while opening the system mall to exchange for top cooking skills. The boss was also very easy to talk to. When Tang Yi asked about the taste of the food, he just smiled and didn't explain. He was not afraid of Tang Yi's complaints. After all, there were not many customers in the store. After exchanging a few words, he went to the fishing area by the lake with the barbecue chef to fish, and Tang Yi successfully entered the kitchen. With top-notch cooking skills, when faced with a string of raw meat skewers, countless processing methods suddenly popped up in his mind. Top-level cooking skills require comprehensive improvement, not only in taste, but also in speed and quantity. 20 minutes later, Tang Yi came out with a large plate of freshly baked skewers. Su Muyun was the most directly shocked, because the moment Tang Yi came out, a strong smell of meat wafted over. She was a little confused at first. Was Tang Yi planning to become the barbecue chef himself? But now she was completely attracted by the absolutely fragrant skewers of meat. Wow, you baked this much in just 20 minutes. It smells delicious, Tang Yi. I didn't expect you to have this skill. At this moment, the little foodie Su Muyun had forgotten that she was Tang Yi's professor, and she picked up a stick as soon as the plate fell. The moment the meat enters your mouth, the spicy barbecue flavor wafts through your mouth. The meat is so fresh and tender that you will never want to leave. It's delicious. Su Muyun was startled. Just as she rubbed her hands and prepared to eat, her untied hair fell in front of her eyes. Tang Yi, you probably don't have the habit of carrying a small rubber band with you, right? Su Muyun's hair was loose, because it looked mature and beautiful. She originally planned to go home after get off work and did not bring the rubber band with her, but she did not expect that it would become an obstacle on her way to dinner. Tang Yi smiled bitterly. How could he bring a rubber band? Damn, aren't he those things that guys with girlfriends wear on their hands to declare their sovereignty? He shook his head, but did not leave Su Muyin alone. Instead, he picked up a pair of disposable chopsticks, stood up and sat next to her. Director Su, please turn around. I can use a chopstick to help you put your hair up. It's solid, and it won't affect your meal. Huh? Tang Yi wants to help me tie my hair? Isn't this a bit too much? Professor Xiaosu is still very feudal in some aspects. She hugged Tang Yi actively because she was forced by the environment. Now she wants him to help her tie her hair, she is subconsciously resisting. All she hears and sees are girls acting like a spoiled braid and wanting their men to tie their hair. But, Tang Yi has not yet come out of Ji Yuqingyue's shadow. He was hurt so deeply and loved her so deeply, how could he have any bad intentions? Su Muyin felt that her point of view was correct. Tang Yi just wanted to help her tie her hair so that she wouldn't be late for eating skewers. Yes, that's right. Although it may seem weird to others, as long as we have a clear conscience, it's fine. Okay, thank you for your help. After figuring it out, Su Muyin turned around and showed her back to Tang Yi. It was hard to see anything because of her loose hair, but when Tang Yi pulled her hair up with one hand and prepared to tie it up for her, he saw her white back. Su Muyin was wearing a long skirt that exposed a quarter of her back, which could not be seen because of her hair. But at this moment, all Tang Yi saw was a soft, delicate, flawless snow-white back. Slurp. Tang Yi was really stunned. He had never seen such a scene before. Fortunately, he didn't eat well or his nose would have bled. Ahem. After coughing twice, he quickly looked away, not wanting to look at anything inappropriate, and then quickly tied Su Muyin's hair. Chapter 13 Su Muyin, I'm not usually so forgetful. This is definitely the most delicious barbecue Su Muyin has ever eaten, and it satisfies her foodie needs to a great extent. After burping lightly, she looked at the pile of skewers in front of her with a little embarrassment. It seems not a good idea to expose too many of my shortcomings in front of students. Forget it. How could a kid like Tang Yi, who loves someone so wholeheartedly, have any bad intentions? Tang Yi also ate a lot. Although the system was quite tricky, this skill was really amazing. If things really don't work out in the future, I can just slack off and become a chef. Are you full, Director Su? Su Muyin was speechless. If she was still not full, then she really needed to reflect on herself. She nodded to show that she was holding on, and when Tang Yi was about to get up and leave, she stopped him. Wait a minute, Xiao Tang Yi, don't leave yet. Let's discuss a small matter. Can you change your address? Don't you think it's a bit strange to call Director Su Director Su? To be honest, Su Muyin really doesn't like this title. It's too official and doesn't sound good. This is just like if someone with the surname Yang becomes a screenwriter, he would not like others to call him Yangbian. Tang Yi was stunned when he heard this. Is Director Su not nice? Then, Professor Xiaosu. Professor Su is fine, that's good. What is the point of adding a small in front of it? Xiao, Professor Su, what do you think, Tang Yi? I have no choice. Who told you to call me Little Tang Yi? Besides, you are really cute in private. Cute. I am 3 years older than you, okay? I am your sister anyway, so I can't call you Professor Su. Speaking of this, Su Muyin's eyes suddenly lit up, and then she pointed her fingers and said excitedly. That's it, just call me sister. It has been happily decided. Come to me anytime if you have any problems in the future. To show my appreciation, I'll pay for this meal. Su Muyin felt sorry for Tang Yi. She really admired the boy's perseverance and emotions. After all, it's not a bad thing to make friends with Tang Yi. She was also worried that Tang Yi would have psychological problems in the future, so getting closer to her would make him more willing to confide in her and feel less distant. Tang Yi naturally did not reject this proposal. It was proposed by the instructor himself. If he had any objections, wouldn't that be a bit of an insult? But he would definitely not let Su Muyin pay the bill, this meal must be treated by him. Or in other words, this meal must be paid for by the damn system. Damn it, you didn't give me the newbie gift package, but you dared to cheat me. Just now, Tang Yi cursed the system, and in the end what he got in return was that he could also reimburse Su Muyin's meal expenses. Professor Su, I'll pay the bill. I've decided to treat you. Humph, then I've decided to pay the bill. Su Muyan thought with some pride, and started to reason as soon as she opened her mouth. First of all, Xiao Tangyi, you are a student. You don't make any money. Your living expenses are not as much as my salary. Secondly, I ate more of this meal, and you cooked it yourself. I can't bear to let you treat me. Third, it's only natural for a sister to treat her brother to a meal. Don't. Su Muyan stopped talking in the middle of her words because her cell phone rang. She took out her cell phone and looked at the caller ID with some confusion. At the same time, Tangyi gave an apologetic expression and answered the call. Taking advantage of Su Muyan's phone call, Tangyi went to the front desk to pay the bill, which was 320 yuan in total. The system's reimbursement method is not to pay for him, but for him to pay first and then ask for it later. Tangyi was not in a hurry to ask the system for money, but returned to Su Muyan and saw her sitting there with a speechless look on her face. What's wrong, Professor Su? It's not that serious. I'm just paying a bill. Why are you so angry? Can't I let you tie the knot next time? Just consider it as something you owe me. Tangyi smiled and said that this was a sure win. He would treat Su Muyan to a free meal and could eat her again in the future. Su Muyan's answer was unexpected to Tangyi. It's not about the checkout. I forgot my shoulder bag in the taxi. The call just now was from the master. He said that when he got home and was cleaning up the car, he found a bag in the back seat. He said it's right near Qianren Lake and he'll send it to me soon. Su Muyan was really going crazy with her own stupidity. How dumb could one person be to do such a thing? She remembered that she had put her bag aside when she got on the bus, and when she got off the bus, she was so anxious and worried that Tangyi would jump into the lake that she forgot to take the bag. On the other side, Tangyiren was also a little nervous. If he calculated correctly, it had been 3 or 4 hours since Su Muyan got off the taxi, right? Her bag was lost, she only discovered it now? Oh, no, if the driver hadn't called, she wouldn't even have noticed that her bag was lost. Did you think I was too anxious when I jumped into the lake and got out of the car? After Tangyi figured out the whole story, he felt even more ashamed and scratched his head to apologize. I'm sorry, Professor Su, for causing you trouble. Su Muyan's answer seemed to be irrelevant to the question. No, I don't blame you. I'm not usually this forgetful. Chapter 14. It's okay, just have a clear conscience. Although there are few tourists in Qianren Lake scenic area, it is still a scenic area, and it has all the necessary atmosphere and facilities. At 7 o'clock in the evening in late summer, the sky was already getting dark and the street lights started working, emitting a dim light. Tangyi and Su Muyan stood side by side under the lights on the roadside of the scenic area, letting the lights lengthen their shadows. A gust of evening breeze blew by, lifting Su Muyan's long hair, which made her feel a little annoyed. The wind was very strong today. Tangyi, why don't you help me tie my hair up again? I just let it down and I haven't thrown away this chopstick yet. Su Muyan let her hair down after leaving the barbecue restaurant. Fearing that the chef might be waiting anxiously, she quickly ran to the roadside and forgot to throw away her chopsticks, which happened to come in handy. Tangyi has always been a man of bold ideas and actions. Without saying a word, he took the chopsticks and helped her tie her hair up again. Okay. Not to mention, Professor Su looks different with her hair tied up than with her long hair. Su Muyan smiled gracefully. She was amazed at Tangyi's hair-doing skills, which were more skillful than many other girls. Tangyi, how do you know how to tie your hair? And you use disposable chopsticks. With a light sigh, Tangyi explained directly without beating around the bush. To pursue Jiu Qingyu. Isn't it said that girls pay attention to details? I saw a guy helping his girlfriend tie her hair with chopsticks before, so I bought a wig and learned it. I think there is so much time in the future, and I will be able to use it one day. It's a pity that there was no chance and it was never used. Oh, Su Muyan was a little speechless. It's not about Tangyi's explanation, but about my own speechless brain. Oh, Tangyi must have learned this because of Jiu Qingyu, is there any need to ask? Su Muyan, look at you. Tangyi has just gotten better, and you are bringing up his sad story again. She clenched her fists and tapped her forehead twice, indicating that she would remember this lesson. Then she bent down and said to Tangyi with a smile. Oh, don't be sad. It's not like you learned it in vain, right? Won't it come in handy today? Thanks to you for this little trick, otherwise I wouldn't be able to eat properly. It's not a loss, it's always good to have many skills, hee hee. Sumuyan really takes care of Tang Yi's mood all the time, fearing that he would be sad. In fact, the moment he left the hotel and closed the door today, Tang Yi made an agreement with himself that his mood would not be affected in the slightest by Jiyu Qingyu. In 3 words, she doesn't deserve it. But after being comforted by Professor Xiaosu, he felt inexplicably much better. Before he could reply, a taxi stopped by the roadside, the window rolled down, and the driver stuck his head out. "Hello again, little beauty. At that time, my son found a shoulder bag in the back seat, and I thought it was yours. Can you see if anything is missing?" Sumuyan took the bag and confirmed that it was hers. She did not open it to check, but smiled and thanked the master. The driver quickly waved his hands, indicating that it was no big deal, and glanced at his watch. "Where are you two going? Are you going back to school? It's hard to get a taxi here." "That's perfect. I can even take over your order." Tang Yi and Sumuyan gladly accepted it, because it is really difficult to get a taxi here, and no one is willing to come even if they call a DD taxi. The two of them sat firmly in the back seat, and the driver started talking as he started the car. Yes, it would be too boring to drive a car all day without chatting with customers. "Young man, you are quite handsome. No wonder you can find such a beautiful girlfriend like Xiaomai. Actually, I saw you guys when I was waiting for the red light over there just now. You were braiding her hair. TSK, it really reminds me of the young and naive love I encountered in my youth. Just tying her hair up means she's your girlfriend. Master, check the calendar. The Qing dynasty is over." Afraid that Sumuyan would be embarrassed, Tang Yi quickly took the initiative to explain. "Master, no, we are not a couple, this is my sister." Tang Yi originally wanted to say that this belonged to his instructor, but that might require more explanation. The driver chuckled upon hearing this. "Oh, I understand, young man, this is your sister. Sister-brother love, yeah, that's the popular thing these days. A woman who is 3 years older than her husband will bring him wealth, so it's really good to have an older sister." "What the hell, why is it that the more I explain, the worse it gets?" Tang Yi was completely silenced. He was even afraid to look at Sumuyan's face. Professor Su must have a gloomy face, right? It must be hard to be misunderstood, right? No, I have to explain." But the problem was, the driver's words were so impeccable that Tang Yi really didn't know where to start. At a side, Sumuyan also noticed Tang Yi's helplessness, and smiled secretly when she saw his lips moving slightly, but he didn't know how to start speaking. Then he leaned close to his ear and whispered. "Okay, no need to explain. It's just a misunderstanding. We just need to have a clear conscience." Hearing this, Tang Yi looked at Sumuyan with some surprise, and she secretly nodded at him. At this moment, Tang Yi was petrified. He was stunned. Sumuyan's words reminded him of an event in the past. It was also in the taxi, and he was also misunderstood by the driver, but that time the person sitting next to him was Jiyu Qingyu. The master was so talkative that day. However, faced with misunderstanding, Jiyu Qingyu chose to argue with reason. Tang Yi didn't even need to say anything at that time. Jiyu Qingyu gave examples in various aspects to prove to her master that she was definitely not his boyfriend. Tang Yi still remembers. "Master, just look at me and him sitting together. Do you think we can be a couple? How is that possible? Not to mention that he's not handsome, how can I be attracted to him just based on his temperament? He's just a funny guy. Master, please be careful with your words. You can't let him shamelessly take a taxi with me and then arrange a match for me, right?" That day, Tang Yi was embarrassed, and the master was also very embarrassed. So when he heard Sumuyan say that there was no need to explain, he felt an indescribable feeling. Chapter 15, still saying they are not a couple. They are holding hands. At this moment, the pushing feeling from his arm brought Tang Yi back to his senses from his thoughts. He turned around and saw Professor Xiaosu staring at him. Then I heard a very concerned greeting. "What's wrong?" Sumuyan noticed that something was wrong with Tang Yi and wondered if she had embarrassed him by saying that there was no need to explain. He may not want others to misunderstand him. Tang Yi shook his head and smiled slightly, saying softly. "No, I just remembered that I was misunderstood by Jiyu Qingyu before, but she scolded me in front of the driver, and finally let the driver know that I was not worthy of her. There are many things that as long as you can say them easily as a joke, it proves that you have let them go. This made Sumuyan's heart tremble. She was really Sumuyan. She was a little too much. Oh, it was a bit too harsh to say that. Maybe I have the temper of a little too young a princess. If you don't want to be misunderstood, just explain it. Why do you have to point out Tang Yi's shortcomings and say that? Could it be that she is also feeling inferior in her heart and always wants to feel superior? Sumuyan was not sure and didn't know. She didn't know Jiyu Qingyu and didn't dare to comment rashly, but she knew that Tang Yi must be feeling uncomfortable at this moment. It seemed strange to suddenly hug him in the car, so Sumuyan thought for a moment and then stretched out her left hand and held Tang Yi's right hand. Since hugging is not appropriate, just hold hands, that should also be helpful. Tang Yi was stunned again. The warm feeling in his palm made his breathing quicken. Naturally, this scene did not escape the driver's attention, and the corner of his mouth curled up. TSK, 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 they said they weren't a couple, but they were secretly holding hands. My uncle and aunt are laughing. Okay, after sending you guys off, I won't solicit customers anymore and will go home to be with my wife. The misunderstanding deepened again. Tang Yi did not explain this time because Sumuyan had just squeezed his hand gently. Needless to say, he understood what she meant. What she must have meant was, no need to explain. As long as we have a clear conscience, that's enough. Seeing that neither of them spoke, the driver smiled mysteriously and shut up, but he slowed down when passing Jinghai Daxiang night market. Are you in a hurry to get back to school? I'll be going home soon. I want to buy some snacks for the kids. If you're in a hurry, I'll come back and buy it later. Tang Yi was not in a hurry. There was no access control in the school anyway. Besides, he was with Sumuyan. Even if there was an access control, so what? After a brief eye contact with Professor Xiaosu, Tang Yi smiled and said to his master, "Don't worry, just go and buy it." The driver chuckled and parked the car on the side of the road. He had been planning to turn off the engine as it was hot outside and it would be comfortable to stay in the car with the air conditioner on. However, Tang Yi and Sumuyan felt that there was no point in just waiting, and they planned to get off the car and take a walk, so the three of them got off the car together and headed towards the night market. The driver went to queue up to buy fried skewers, while Tang Yi and Sumuyan were strolling around casually. To be honest, they have no interest in all the exquisite snacks. They are too full from eating barbecue. On another street in the night market, Jiyu Qingyu was holding a bouquet of roses with a helpless look on his face. Next to him stood a boy who was dressed very fashionably. Brother Wenhao, don't buy flowers next time. It's such a waste of money. She really doesn't like roses, but Zhang Wenhao is her senior, and Jiyu Qingyu is embarrassed to say something too cold. After all, this is not Tang Yi, so we still have to give him face. Zhang Wenhao obviously didn't get what Jiyu Qingyu meant. He thought she was worried about her money, so he waved his hand and said, "It's okay Qingyu, as long as you like it, everything is worth it." Well, my dad just called and said something happened at home, so I have to go back quickly. Have fun, and send me a message to let me know you're safe when you get back to school. Jiyu Qingyu nodded. She hoped that Zhang Wenhao would leave quickly so as not to disturb her and her roommates from having snacks. She had been thinking about how to hint to him to leave. After all, this was not Tang Yi, and there was no way to ask him to just go away. After Zhang Wenhao left, Jiyu Qingyu suddenly became happy and trotted towards Zhang Yaxin and the other two with a smile. She didn't throw away the roses at hand, but prepared to give them to Zhang Yaxin and the others. Zhang Wenhao gave me flowers. Don't be embarrassed to refuse. I'll take them. Who of you wants them? Zhang Yaxin and Yao Wenwen both like flowers, and they both want them, but they can't free their hands now. Jiyu Qingyu wanted Zhang Heng to hold her, but Zhang Yaxin stopped her. Yeah, can you hold me for a while longer, until I finish eating this potato skin? Don't let Zhang Heng hug me. He's not my boyfriend. If he hugs me and gives me back, it'll be like I'm accepting his flowers. Jiyu Qingyu felt that what Zhang Yaxin said made sense. Zhang Heng was half Tang Yi. Well, we can't allow this kind of misunderstanding to happen. We can't give him any chance to succeed. The four of them continued to stroll around, and the night market was so small that it was hard not to run into some people. Sumuyan was originally very interested in the ice cream cone on the street and wanted to eat it, but she was attracted by the change in Tang Yi's expression. His expression was as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. What's wrong? Tang Yi shook his head, then pointed ahead with a calm look. Jiyu Qingyu. Looking in the direction of his gaze, I indeed saw Jiyu Qingyu. No way. This is just a coincidence. Su Muyun was also a little surprised, but the next scene. Recommended books. What happened surprised her even more. Su Muyun frowned when she saw them, and then rushed over angrily with small steps. Standing in front of her and Tang Yi, he started with sarcastic questions. Tang Yi, you're following me again. Are you sick? Chapter 16. Jiyu Qingyu is looking for trouble, and Su Muyun can't help it. Su Muyun didn't understand what it meant to follow her. If the driver hadn't said he wanted to buy snacks for the kids, she and Tang Yi would have been at school by now. And Jiyu Qingyu continued to speak. You are really something, Tang Yi. You deliberately took Zhang Heng's car to Qianren Lake, hoping that he would tell me about this to trick me into caring about you. You were disappointed when you saw that I didn't go, and then you started to beg me to find out that I was at the snack street and followed me. What's your new trick? You found a female companion to accompany you in front of me. What does that mean? You don't think you want me to be jealous of you, do you? I'm really impressed. Tang Yi, you are really sick. Why don't you just jump into the lake and die? Jiyu Qingyu was already angry, and Tang Yi couldn't even wait for her for an hour. Now that this has happened, how can she not be angry? As for who the beautiful girl next to Tang Yi is, she doesn't want to care. Love is whoever it is. Immediately afterwards, Yao Wenwen and Zhang Yaxin also turned unhappy and started cursing at Tang Yi. Zhang Heng on the side didn't want to get involved, but he also felt that Tang Yi had gone too far. If you want to pursue a girl, just pursue her properly. Why do you find other girls to deliberately show off your presence? Isn't this just sentencing yourself to death? It's no wonder that the campus beauty Jiyu is angry. Being misunderstood is really frustrating, but Tang Yi is used to it after all. However, Su Muyun, who was standing next to him, had a dark face. Professor Xiao Su really frowned. She didn't understand Jiyu Qingyu and the other two, just like a primary school student didn't understand El Hospital's principal. Did Tang Yi take the initiative to approach them and talk to them? Did he rush over and say he was following them when he met them? What does it mean that Tang Yi deliberately took a taxi to Qianren Lake to jump into the lake to trick her into caring about him? What does it mean that he wanted her to be jealous of him? Does this Jiyu Qingyu speak without thinking? Does she understand the situation and then come up to criticize others? What's most infuriating is, why didn't you just jump into the lake and die? Is this really something a girl can say? Is this really the quality of the school beauty? How was the selection process done? Is it true that someone who is beautiful but ugly inside is also a school beauty? Is inner beauty not a kind of beauty? Su Muyun really lives in Bengbu. She doesn't swear, otherwise she would at least say a few national quintessence words. Her eyes turned and she looked at Jiyu Qingyu with a graceful smile. Hello Qingyu, let's go eat fish together when we have time. I see you're a master at finding faults. Oh no, that's not nitpicking, that's looking for trouble. I don't understand. These three girls are pretty, how can they be so shameless? Su Muyun is an emotional person, easily moved by emotions. At this moment, she could hardly control herself. As a master of psychology and having a few more years of experience than them, Su Muyun can beat the three of them into the ground. Professor Su's anger is also very scary. Now Jiyu Qingyu and the other two feel an inexplicable sense of oppression. It feels like being caught by the teacher when you make a mistake in school. Jiyu Qingyu became even angrier when she saw that the woman next to Tang Yi dared to confront her. How could she have ever endured such humiliation? Whether in school or outside, when has she ever been wronged? Who doesn't obediently depend on her and listen to her? Jiyu Qingyu raised her eyebrows and was about to retort, but Tang Yi spoke first. Jiyu Qingyu, which eye of yours is blind that you think I'm following you? I was wondering why I could run into you here. I said you were following me. Did I pay attention to you? I feel unlucky when I see you. You were the one who rushed towards me. Can you please stop yelling? At the moment when he finished arguing, Tang Yi breathed a sigh of relief, and a system notification sound rang in his ears. Ding, angry criticism of Jiyu Qingyu triggers a choice, host please make a choice. 1. Work with Su Muyun and continue to scold them into the dirt. Reward, 10 happiness points. 2nd, stop here and take Su Muyun away. Reward, 10 happiness points. 3. Call the Jinghai mental hospital and tell them that a patient has escaped and needs to be brought back immediately. Reward, 10 happiness points. Note, the contact number of Jinghai Mental Hospital is 5438666XX. These choices really stunned Tang Yi, and he eliminated 3 first. After all, Jinghai Mental Hospital can't really come over to arrest anyone, and calling would be a waste of time and would only disgust Jiyu Qingyu. The sense of satisfaction brought by this is not as good as pounding them into the ground with Professor Su. But, can option 1 really be implemented? Tang Yi wanted to, but he didn't intend to do so. Professor Xiaosu had just arrived at the school, and Jiyu Qingyu and the others didn't know her, but she was a teacher in the same college after all, so they would definitely know her. Tang Yi was very touched. He could see that Su Muyun was helping him and standing up for him. He was so moved that he almost cried. But the more this was the case, the more he couldn't bring her to confront Jiyu Qingyu and the others. If she lost control and said something extreme, it would have a huge impact on her. Jiyu Qingyu, let me reiterate to you, don't rush up to me and question me when you see me next time. I was really blind to like you before. Now that I don't like you anymore, I won't follow you anymore. I'm not that shameless. After saying that, Tang Yi turned his head and gave Su Muyun a look. Professor Xiaosu was very angry, but since Tang Yi was leaving, she didn't plan to say anything more. Respecting all of Tang Yi's choices and opinions, without asking questions or blaming others, was the best way she could think of. Jiyu. Recommended books. Qingyu looked at their backs as they left, frowning. Chapter 17. No, I can't let Tang Yi continue to like her. Tang Yi's tone and expression really gave her the illusion that he really didn't like her anymore. After all, this was the first time Tang Yi said such harsh words to her. Looking at the perfect figure walking beside him, Jiyu Qingyu thought of Su Muyun's incredibly beautiful face. For a moment, grievance filled her heart. Tang Yi went to find that woman just because I rejected him. He is so unmanly. Although I would never agree to him, he could have persisted in pursuing me. He told me before that he would always love me, now he changed his mind just because I rejected him in public yesterday. What the hell is going on? This isn't the first time I've rejected him in public. I've been even more ruthless in the past than I was yesterday. As expected, no man is a good thing. Fortunately, I didn't agree to him before. I really hope that Tang Yi can stay with that woman for a long time, so that I can have peace and quiet. Jiyu Qingyu raised her delicate face proudly and said with a frown. At this time, Yao Wenwen and Zhang Yaxin both looked at her with particularly surprised eyes. They don't understand. No, Qingyu, you don't really think that's Tang Yi's girlfriend, do you? Is it such a coincidence that we were shopping here in Tang Yi and she just happened to come here? My dear lady, this is impossible. Tang Yi just wants to piss you off. Maybe he found this girl from outside at a high price, just to show off to you and make you feel that he doesn't like you anymore. He did this and said this just to make you relax your guard in the future so that he can get closer to you more easily. Yao Wenwen and Zhang Yaxin's ideas have always been so unique, but after hearing this, Jiyu Qingyue's eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. At this moment, she felt that she was really angry and lost her mind. That's right. That woman is so beautiful, how could she be attracted to Tang Yi? What does she want from him? Is it because he has been pursuing me for a whole year and he possesses the excellent quality of perseverance? Do I want him to bring me milk tea and breakfast day after day, and I can call him and send him away at my will? Tang Yi, you said you don't like me anymore? Then why do you deliberately follow me, deliberately want me to care about you, and deliberately make me angry? Do you want my emotions to change because of you, and turn hatred into love? Tang Yi, give up this plan as soon as possible. I will never like you in my life. After Jiyu Qingyu figured everything out, she felt much more relaxed and raised her brows slightly. It would be best if she was his girlfriend, that would give me some peace and quiet. Let her experience what it feels like to be entangled with a dog skin plaster. After thinking of a small detail, Jiyu Qingyu became more certain that Tang Yi loved her and was deliberately making her angry. What did Su Muyun use to put her hair up? Disposable chopsticks. Isn't that too shabby? He was unwilling to buy her a hairpin or rubber band even though she was acting with Tang Yi in a play. Why? Jiyu Qingyu knew why. It was because Tang Yi wanted to save money to prepare surprises and romance for her. He saves as much as he can and is only willing to spend money on her. Yes, Tang Yi has not changed. He is still the Tang Yi who is only good to her, Jiyu Qingyu. On the other hand, Professor Su had been complaining in her heart for a long time. She was really enlightened today. How could there be such a top-notch girl? She frowned, walked with her hands on her hips, her face full of confusion and anger. Su Muyin really wanted Tang Yi to explain how he fell in love with a sarcastic girl like Jiu Qingyu. What's the point? Are you afraid that you'll live too long and want to die a few years earlier? Is your heart full of love so full that you have to find a princess? It's outrageous, absolutely too outrageous. She's just like a little princess living in her own world, okay? No wonder Tang Yi wanted him to jump into the lake. There is something wrong with Jiu Qingyu. She really wanted to complain, but she held the words back and changed the subject. Tang Yi, are you sure you don't like her? Su Muyin finally understood that she must stop Tang Yi from pursuing Jiu Qingyu, otherwise he would have to jump into the lake sooner or later. I was sure before, and I am even more sure now. This is the second time I've seen her holding a rose. Su Muyin raised her eyebrows a little puzzled. She didn't understand what the connection was between seeing roses and being sure that she didn't like Jiu Qingyu. Perhaps noticing her confusion, Tang Yi took the initiative to explain. Yesterday I confessed my love to her and brought a bouquet of roses, and she told me she hated roses. But I've seen her happily walk into the dormitory building holding a bouquet of roses before. Today she also held a bouquet of roses. I don't understand. How can this be considered as dislike? She doesn't dislike Rose, she just hates me. Tang Yi smiled calmly, but Su Muyin felt like she was smiling bitterly. Chapter 18 Tang Yi, it's a rare day to have such a happy day. Su Muyin does not live in the school, and I happened to pass by her community on the way to Jinghai University of Technology. Instead of simply saying goodbye, the two of them started talking about the issue of car fares. I just want to ask why Professor Su is so stubborn? I told you to just pay the money, the fare is not much. Oh, my sister Su, please go home directly. Master Moji will kick me down soon. Tang Yi said this, turned around and gave his master a look. Please give me a hand, uncle. The driver was also very helpful. He nodded frantically to help persuade the man. Yeah girl, your boyfriend has already said that, so don't force it on him. He's already ashamed for not sending you home, and you still don't ask him to pay for the fare. He has to sit up and slap himself every night when he goes to bed, saying he deserves to die. Su Muyin shook her head helplessly, then rummaged through her bag and pulled out a 100 yuan bill. He threw it on the seat, opened the door and got out of the car. Tang Yi, remember to pay. You can take the extra money. Su Muyin trotted straight towards her own neighborhood, but after a few steps she felt that she was being a little impolite. How can you say goodbye without waving goodbye? Thinking of this, she turned around and waved to Tang Yi with a smile. Tang Yi also waved goodbye, and after the car started, he stared at the $100 bills beside him in a daze. At this time, the master's kind laughter came from the front row. Young man, what are you thinking about? You're missing me right after we separated. Yes, this girl has such a good personality, she is cheerful and gentle, she is so beautiful and she is willing to share your burdens. There are not many girls like this nowadays, you must cherish this wonderful girlfriend. Jinghai University of Technology, Student Dormitory Building Number 7. Tang Yi is in an inexplicably good mood now. Doesn't he know why? Maybe he has figured out that he should not pursue Jiu Qingyu? When they saw him smiling and pushing open the dormitory door, the three roommates who were lying on the beds jumped up as if they had springs on their buttocks. At this moment, they were like travelers who discovered a paradise in a desperate situation, with expressions of surprise and joy alternating on their faces. The first person to speak was a short and fat man named Zhang Yuan. Boss, what's going on? Why are you still smiling? Following closely behind was a boy wearing glasses and looking gentle and refined, his name was Wu Mingfei. Did the school beauty take the initiative to talk to you? The last person to speak was a very burly boy named Zhang Biao. Brother, please tell me what the school beauty did to you. I'm so anxious. I want to eat some melons. It's no wonder that the three brothers were surprised. Their main reason was that seeing Tang Yi coming back with a smile in the dormitory was no different from seeing a naked female ghost in the dormitory. And it has to be a female ghost who was a model in her previous life. How strange. Ever since Tang Yi decided to pursue the school belle, they have never seen him come back with a smile. They can all memorize the process of Tang Yi returning to the dormitory. He walked into their house with a gloomy face, went to the balcony to smoke, and then went back to the dormitory to talk about where he got frustrated today. You three. I'm really impressed. Why do you have to bring up Jiu Qingyu? Zhang Yuan and the other two, Not because of the school beauty. Is it not okay for me to be inexplicably happy today? Zhang Yuan and the other two, this is great. The boss must be inexplicably happy. Oh, by the way, let me tell you a little thing. Zhang Yuan and the other two pricked up their ears. Listen carefully. I'm not going to pursue Jiu Qingyu anymore. I will be in a good mood every day from now on. At this moment, the three brothers became even more nervous. Zhang Yuan ran over and closed the window at the speed of an arrow. They were really panicked. This was not the first time that Tang Yi said he was not going to pursue the campus beauty. Before, every time he said it, it would be accompanied by various confusing and life-threatening operations. Brother, I'm ordering wine now. My name is Barbecue. I'm going to see if there are any coupons left for tonight's KTV reservation. Tang Yi frowned, interrupted their operation, and started to explain directly. This time it's true. I really figured it out. The next second, three inhalation sounds were heard one after another, and Zhang Yuan and the other two looked at Tang Yi. Maybe because his expression didn't seem fake, they began to believe it. You really don't want to chase me anymore? Are you sure? Then the three brothers are not polite, please don't hit anyone. Before Tang Yi could get confused, Zhang Yuan and the other two pulled their pillows off their beds. They sharpened their fists and punched their pillows again and again. Jiu Qingyu, right? Now I say I won't pursue you anymore. If you glare at me for no reason next time we meet, I will scold you. Damn it, I went out to buy meat at 4 in the morning and came back to process it so that Tang Yi could make handmade meatballs for you. If you don't like it, then you don't want to eat it and you throw it in the trash. If I were not so bad at speaking, I would at least be able to say a few words. The three of them were talking while observing Tang Yi's expression, and so that he did not come over to hit anyone. They all breathed a sigh of relief, and the next second, a roar similar to atavism came from the dormitory. Brothers, call it a day. We really won't chase you this time. Yeah, they didn't even hit us. What are you waiting for? I'm going to order some wine now. We must drink some today. Seeing this scene, Tang Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. It turns out that all the good things they said about Jiu Qingyu in front of him were just fake. It's really hard for them. Order some more barbecue. I'll treat you guys today. The drinking session lasted until 11:30 in the evening, and Tang Yi completely understood how much resentment the three brothers had towards Jiu Qingyu. After the end, the four of them went to bed, and soon they heard snoring sounds. As the one who drank the least, Tang Yi was the most sober at the moment. Not to mention that he was waiting for 12 o'clock to ask the system for money, and he couldn't sleep with the tractor-like snoring. A little drunk, he lay on the bed, smiled, and took out his cell phone to post a message to his friends. It's a rare day to have such a happy day. Chapter 19. Jiu Qingyu is late, it's all Tang Yi's fault. He was really happy, feeling indescribably happy. Maybe it was because I played cards with my cousin for a few hours today, or maybe it was because I decided to give up Jiu Qingyu today. Of course, it may also be because I felt a feeling I had never experienced before from Professor Xiaosu today. The warmth flows through their heart, takes root deep within and blooms into a beautiful flower. Time passed quickly and it was 12 o'clock. Tang Yi directly called out to the system. Tang Yi, hello, reimbursement. System, how many? How much? At this moment, Tang Yi frowned. The system asked him how much he wanted to bid. How can this guy not keep accounts? Doesn't he know how much money is? After secretly taking a deep breath, Tang Yi replied tentatively. Tang Yi, 782 yuan. To his surprise, the system didn't ask any questions, and the next second a prompt sounded in his ears. Ding, the host has settled the bill for 782 yuan and transferred it to your ICBC card. The efficiency was very high and Tang Yi quickly received the bank transfer notification. He grinned, and the system soon realized that something was wrong. System, I didn't even notice that you and Sumuyan ate 782. Tang Yi, definitely not, this is the barbecue plus the round-trip taxi fare plus the beer and barbecue just now. System, brother, you are reporting false accounts. System, damn, I really admire you. Could you please stop using such shady tactics? Tang Yi, how dare you say I played dirty? The next morning, in Building 2 of the girls' dormitory, the school beauty's dormitory. As soon as Yao Wenwen and Zhang Yaxin got up, they saw Ji Qingyu sitting beside the bed with a gloomy face. This scared them. Who made our Miss Ji angry so early in the morning? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? Are you having your period? Did you accidentally spill it on the bed? Ji Qingyu actually hoped that it was just a small matter like this, rather than being severely disgusted by Tang Yi when she woke up early in the morning. She angrily threw the phone on the bed, allowing Yao Wenwen and the others to see the content on the screen. It was a screenshot someone sent to Ji Qingyu, and it was the circle of friends that Tang Yi posted last night. Wenwen, Yaxin, look, I have to be disgusted by Tang Yi so early in the morning. I'm getting angrier the more I think about it. I was so angry yesterday that I actually had a quarrel with Tang Yi and the others. Tang Yi must think that I'm jealous of him. I'm so pissed. I heard that they were howling in the dormitory last night, as if they were celebrating that I agreed to be his girlfriend. Who knows how he'll brag in the dormitory about how I'm jealous of him. He really makes me sick, he is simply a psychopath. Yao Wenwen and Zhang Yaxin were completely speechless. Damn it, how could there be such a man in the world? They felt that they had really underestimated Tang Yi. They believed that Tang Yi was just trying to make Ji Qingyu jealous and comfort himself. As a result, he actually shared it with others, just to satisfy his worthless vanity. How could there be such a vain and extreme man in the world? Don't be angry, yeah. Tang Yi has been disgusting for a long time. Yeah, why get angry with that kind of man? If you argue with him now, you'll be trapped. Yes, just be the goddess of the school and the little princess of our dormitory. Ji Qingyu frowned. She just wanted to complain a few words. After all, she was not as disgusting as Tang Yi. The three girls chattered and criticized Tang Yi for nearly 20 minutes, and suddenly Ji Qingyu looked at the time. Oh no, it's almost 7:40. I can't be late for Lao Wang's first class. Lao Wang is a database teacher in the third-year computer class. He is extremely strict and always treats students who violate discipline equally. I don't care if you are the school beauty or the top scorer in your grade. Ji Qingyu and the other two got up quickly, and after a quick wash, they left the dormitory and rushed to the classroom. When I sat down in the classroom, there were still 3 minutes left before class started. Phew. I'm really impressed. We didn't even have breakfast because we were in a hurry. Yao Wenwen was a little short of breath from running and complained while panting. Ji Qingyu was also very angry. She was not a girl who did not love herself. She knew how much harm skipping breakfast could do to a person. But today, she missed breakfast because of the delay. The moment she thought about it, she was very angry. Why don't they have time to eat breakfast and even jog to class? Isn't it just a waste of time? Why waste time? Aren't you just scolding Tang Yi? Why scold him? If he wasn't disgusting, why would you scold him? Is there anything else to say? It's all his fault. Why is he so disgusting? I'm so pissed off. Ji Qingyu frowned, clenched her fists and slammed the table twice in anger. Tang Yi, you are like this, right? Look, I will tire you to death. Thinking of this, Ji Qingyu logged into VBlog and posted a message. I woke up late this morning and forgot to eat. I want to eat the rujiamo at the west gate of the school. According to Ji Qingyu's understanding of Tang Yi, as soon as he saw the news, he would immediately skip classes to buy rujiamo for himself and then send it to her. In fact, Ji Qingyu didn't really want to eat rujiamo. Recommended books. The west gate is the farthest from the building where she has classes, and she just wanted Tang Yi to run a few more steps. Humph. On the other side, Tang Yi, who was also in the classroom, fell into reflection after seeing the message that V Weibo paid special attention to. Damn, am I stupid? I even forgot to cancel my special follow on Weibo. Wouldn't it just ruin our good mood if we keep this? Chapter 20 Buying breakfast for Sumuyan and eating it in front of Ji Qingyu. Tang Yi's class was an elective course, so he chose not to take it and just lay down and fell asleep. Just when he was about to fall asleep, a system notification sound came to his ears. It is worth mentioning that not only was there a sound, but it seemed to have been amplified countless times by a certain two-stroke system, which almost frightened Tang Yi to death. Ding, Jiu Qingyu sent a V message saying she didn't have breakfast. It was detected that Sumuyun had just arrived at work and also forgot to have breakfast. Faced with this situation, please make a choice, host. 1. Go buy Rujiamo for Jiu Qingyu. Reward, 10% discount coupon for Rujiamo. 2. Prepare breakfast for Sumuyun. Reward, 10 happiness points. 3. Buy a Rujiamo for Sumuyun and bring her to eat in front of Jiu Qingyu. Reward, 20 happiness points. Tang Yi really wanted to ask the dog der system whether it deliberately waited until he was about to fall asleep before issuing the task. Just be happy, you dog system. I can scold you to death if I get a little mad. After complaining a little, Tang Yi began to think about his choice. Buying Rujiamo for Jiu Qingyu? Are you kidding? Then Bu Chun has become a big bootlicker and slapped himself in the face. The first option is directly ruled out. As for the same happiness value reward, Jiang Feng subconsciously wanted to get 20 happiness values. But if you think about it, it would be really cool if you could do this, but how do you convince Professor Su to come over and eat it? Sister, I want to piss off Jiu Qingyu to death, will you come with me to eat? To be honest, Tang Yi doesn't think it is very reliable. So he naturally chose option 2 and prepared breakfast for Professor Su. This is not just for the reward. Tang Yi knows best how much harm not eating can do to the body. Even when he was pursuing Jiu Qingyu and was short of money, he only ate a little worse, but he would never skip food to save money. I mean, Professor Su is so nice to us, so sending him breakfast is no big deal. Thinking of this, Tang Yi gave Zhang Yuan and the other two a mysterious look and slipped out of the classroom. The building where he took classes was closest to the west gate, so he simply went to various breakfast shops outside the west gate. At this time, a man still wearing an apron came up with a smile. Here you are, Tang Yi. I heard that the school beauty said in a VB that she wanted to eat my Rujiamo, so she's waiting for you to come. As expected, among so many suitors, you are the first to arrive. Tell me, how much does it cost? Tang Yi glanced at the boss helplessly, then shook his head. Boss, I'm not here to buy Rujiamo. In fact, the Rujiamo here is really delicious, and it's also good to prepare it for Professor Su. But Tang Yi thought that the barbecue she had eaten last night was so greasy, so it would be better for her to eat something light in the morning. Seeing that Tang Yi had no intention of stopping and walked straight past his shop, the boss was completely stunned. What's going on? Not buying. Hey, boy, is it that the school beauty suddenly wants to eat something else? No blog post. On the other side, Tang Yi had already bought oatmeal porridge and steamed buns. He thought Sumuyun would want to eat them. Carrying the breakfast he had bought, he went straight to the office building of the School of Computer Science and asked the teacher he met by chance about the location of Sumuyun's office. There was a gentle knock on the door, and soon Sumuyun's gentle voice was heard from inside the room. Come in. Tang Yi walked into their house with a chuckle, and Sumuyun was stunned when she saw that it was Tang Yi. Xiao Tang Yi? He came to see me so early in the morning. Could it be that he was hit by Jiu Qingyu again? No, looking at this refreshed state, it doesn't seem like. While Sumuyun was thinking, Tang Yi had already walked to the table and placed breakfast next to Sumuyun. Professor Xiaosu, I heard from some classmates that you were in a hurry when you entered the school. I guess you didn't have breakfast. Here, I bought this for you as a reward for your comfort yesterday. Tang Yi prides himself on being a very careful person and will think of the answers to all questions before coming. He knew from the system that she hadn't had breakfast, but this reason was completely reasonable. Obviously Sumuyun had no doubts. Instead, she glanced at the breakfast at hand and her brows lifted with joy. She looked so beautiful with the corners of her mouth slightly raised, just like a flower bud about to bloom. She smiled, and it was as if the flowers were blooming. You are so considerate. I really didn't eat. Thank you, Tang Yi. It was not in vain that I comforted you yesterday. Professor Xiaosu praised, and Tang Yi smiled unconsciously. I don't know what you like to eat, so I just bought some. Just make do with it. Women are all a little shy, especially those who love beauty. It would be embarrassing if they eat in an ugly way, right? But Sumuyun didn't care about this, maybe because she had already had dinner with Tang Yi, or maybe because she looked so gentle and cute no matter how you looked at her. She put a straw into her porridge and waved to Tang Yi while giving him a lecture. No, how can you call it just making do? Not to mention that I wanted to eat something light, even if I didn't want to eat. After all, you worked hard to buy it for me, so I would be happy to eat it. Not at all. Sumuyan felt that most people had similar ideas to hers, right? We are supposed to be hungry, so we should be grateful if we have food to eat. How can we say we are just making do? Is there really someone who does this for her? Recommended books. Do you make things difficult for girls who buy things that are not good? That would have to be half of Jiu Qingyu, right? As she was talking, Sumuyan suddenly thought of something. She put down the porridge, frowned slightly, stood up straight, put her left hand on her waist, and pinched Tang Yi's ear with her right hand. Tang Yi, if I remember correctly, you have class this period, right? You skipped class. Tang Yi, whose ear was pinched, was shocked. Oops, I forgot that Professor Xiaosu is also a counselor. Chapter 21. You can make mistakes, but you can't lie to your sister. At this moment, Tang Yi felt that he should not be too confident in everything, as he was not a careful person. Why didn't he think of a reason to be here instead of attending class before coming here? But it seems that there is no point in thinking about it in advance. This problem has no solution. Tang Yi touched his nose awkwardly. The only response he could give to Sumuyan was a wry smile. Sorry sis, I forgot I had class this period. I woke up in the dormitory and my roommate was empty. No one reminded me or called me. Tang Yi's brain cells were almost dying before he could think of such an explanation. In order to avoid danger urgently, he even called his sister. Facts have proved that this seems to really work for Professor Su. After all, who can resist a brother who looks handsome and calls him sister and sounds so cute? Sumuyan smiled and raised her eyebrows with interest. But you were clearly in the classroom at that time. How do you know? Tang Yi was shocked, and the next second he suddenly understood through Sumuyan's eyes. Oops, I forgot that Professor Su also studied for a master's degree in psychology. This must be a lie. Sumuyan's thoughts were actually quite clear, and all of Tang Yi's words were full of loopholes. Are there really college students who go to bed early and leave their roommates to sleep comfortably in bed? She doesn't believe it. The next second, she pinched Tang Yi's ear with a little more force, although this was no different from tickling. Tang Yi, I'm telling you, you can make mistakes, but you can't lie to your sister. Got it? Skipping class is a small problem. Your class is really not that important. But lying is a question of integrity. It's a big deal. Don't lie to anyone from now on, especially your family, and secondly me, okay? How could Tang Yi dare to say no? He nodded heavily. As his head moved up and down, Sumuyan's hand, which was pinching his ear, followed suit, for fear of hurting him. I understand, Professor Su. I will definitely not lie again in the future. Call me sister. I understand, sister. Seeing this, Sumuyan nodded with satisfaction and then withdrew her hand. She glanced at the teaching building with her crescent-shaped eyes, and Tang Yi knew that she was asking him to go back to class. He made an okay gesture, then waved goodbye to Sumuyan and was about to leave. And just as he was about to walk out of the office, she called him again. By the way, the school is closed this afternoon, and the student union will be inspecting the dormitory housekeeping. This time the intensity is huge, it will be included in the scholarship review and so on. You should also remind other students to pay attention to it. Tang Yi nodded lightly, then turned and left the house. The moment he closed the door, his lips curled up slightly, and after leaving the office building, he looked up at the sky. It's great, the sky is still clear and cloudless, and I seem to be in a better mood today. On the other side, accompanied by a hasty bell for the end of get out of class, Jiu Qingyu stood up and walked out of the classroom. She knew that Tang Yi must be waiting at the door, holding a Rujiamo in his hand, waiting for her to go out. She was in a bad mood right now, so this was a good opportunity for her to vent her anger by scolding Tang Yi a few words. But when she walked to the door, she frowned. There were indeed a few boys waiting for her with Rujiamo, but Tang Yi was not there. When the boys who were waiting saw her come out, they were all excited. Senior, I heard that you wanted to eat Rujiamo, so I bought it for you. Goddess, he bought it early and his is cold. Eat mine, mine is not cold. Oh Qingyu, I didn't buy you Rujiamo, I bought you fried chicken, eat my chicken, I also bought you milk tea. As the most beautiful campus beauty of Jinghai University of Technology, Jiu Qingyu's appeal is absolute. If her class today wasn't too far away from the Rujiamo shop and many people hadn't returned yet, there would be a line at the door now. It's still 8 in the morning, and many people don't have classes and are still in their dormitories. But at this moment, Jiu Qingyu was unhappy. She looked at the boys in front of her, each of them holding a rujiamo in his hand. Why did she feel more and more annoyed the more she looked at them? Finally, she couldn't hold it anymore and waved her hand coldly. I don't want to eat anymore. Without explaining a word, she turned and walked into the classroom. The moment she sat back down, she slammed her fist down on the table again. Who are all these people outside? Are they just buying one breakfast? I didn't eat and obviously my roommate didn't eat either. Didn't they think about that? Couldn't they buy 3 servings? I only bought 1 portion. How can I eat it by myself? Should I help my roommate? Indeed, she could accept the rujiamo sent by 3 people and share them with Yao Wenwen and the other person. But this is different from someone thinking about this and buying 3 breakfasts. There is a big difference between the two. They didn't cook as well as Tang Yi. Tang Yi knew that I would always be with Yaxin and Wenwen. If I didn't eat it, they definitely didn't eat it either, so he would buy it for them. I'm really impressed. Jiu Qingyu frowned speechlessly, and the next second her temper flared up. Where did Tang Yi go? Someone saw him going to the Shimen breakfast shop. It is said that he went to buy it as soon as I sent a VB. Did he run too fast and fall? That's not right. It took him such a long time, he could have crawled here even if he had to, right? Chapter 22. The school beauty comes to check the dormitory, and 1T let her leave. Jiu Qingyu sat in her seat with a frown on her face, her eyes glancing towards the door from time to time. She wanted to see how late the daring Tang Yi would dare to be today. No sense of time, eh? He wants us to starve to death. Jiu Qingyu has figured it out. When Tang Yi comes, she will never give him a good look. It's a rare day that I wanted Tang Yi to go shopping, but he was late. Isn't this ungrateful? Isn't this disrespectful to her, Jiu Qingyu? Jiu Qingyu, who was holding back a lot of resentment, was just waiting for Tang Yi to come over and vent her anger, but time passed quickly and 10 minutes had passed since get out of class was over. She didn't see Tang Yi until the ringing sound disappeared. This guy didn't come. Jiu Qingyu's delicate face was filled with shock, and emotions of surprise and astonishment were intertwined in her eyes. Tang Yi really didn't he come to bring her breakfast? She didn't he understand? Is he so cruel now? Does he really have to play hard to get? I'm so pissed. Jiu Qingyu whispered madly and slammed her fist on the table again. This time her actions caught the attention of the teacher at the podium. Jiu Qingyu. What's going on? Why are you smashing the table? Just listen to the class carefully and don't do anything else. This lesson is important. Wang Hong doesn't care that the classmate he criticizes is the school belle and the dream girl of many boys in the school. In his opinion, anyone who does something naughty in class and affects other students' studies will be criticized, without exception. Facing the looks from her classmates, Jiu Qingyu felt a little uncomfortable. This was the first time she was called by the teacher in class. Oh, it's all Tang Yi's fault. If he hadn't deliberately pissed me off. I understand, teacher. This little disturbance soon passed and the classroom returned to normal order, but our campus beauty Jiu had no intention of attending the class. She took out her cell phone and was about to complain about Tang Yi with Yao Wenwen when she suddenly saw the message from the student union work group. You're going to check the dormitory this afternoon. After a little thought, Jiu Qingyu's moon-like eyes flashed with cunning. She was just worrying about how to vent her anger on Tang Yi, and now someone gave her a pillow just because she was sleepy. As the vice president of the school student union, she is the one who leads the team and has the final say in dormitory inspections. Isn't this an opportunity? She went to check Tang Yi's dormitory in person. Was she afraid that she would not have the chance to scold him then? Thinking of this, Jiu Qingyu snorted twice unconsciously. Just wait, Tang Yi, I'll tell you not to take my words seriously. I told you to deliberately irritate me, I told you to play hard to get, you'd better not let me catch you. At noon, the 4 people in Tang Yi's dormitory finished their meal and went back to the dormitory to start tidying up their belongings. There is no way. We will check it in the afternoon. If the dormitory is not cleaned up, it will be fatal. It's not that they are afraid of criticism. Just apologize if you are criticized, it's mainly because it's too embarrassing to be used as a negative example and be photographed in the group. Oh my god. Tang Yi was responsible for the cleaning under the bed. He squatted down and took a look under the bed, and his legs almost went weak. Damn, there is a pair of eyes under the bed staring at him, it's enough to scare him to death. Tang Yi licked his lips, stood up, picked up the broom and hit Zhang Yuan on the butt. Fatty, did you hide your silicone girlfriend in the closet? Zhang Yuan nodded blankly. Yes. Boss, could you please keep your voice down? It would be bad if outsiders heard this. Tang Yi thought to himself that he was almost scared to death, and yet he was afraid that this would be known to outsiders. With a dark face, he hit Zhang Yuan's butt twice, then pointed under the bed. Didn't you notice that it was missing something? Their head is still under the bed, hurry up and get it away, it's too damn scary. Zhang Yuan wondered how could it be scary when he had customized the makeup himself when he bought it. Not only did Tang Yi and the other two find it scary, his mother also said it was scary when he put the silicone girlfriend at home before. He didn't understand, this was a high-quality version. After putting his head away, Zhang Yuan frowned slightly and complained. Boss, don't blame me. The main reason is that we can't find a girlfriend and we want to get rid of the five-fingered girl. Can you introduce me to someone? Looking at Zhang Yuan's slightly obscene expression, Tang Yi felt that the doll's face was not very scary. Finding a girlfriend for a fat guy? Isn't that just pushing the girl into trouble? A notice was sent in the group that the dormitory inspection time was 3 o'clock. After tidying up the dormitory, Tang Yi and his 3 friends played 2 games. At 2:55, they turned off their computers and prepared to be checked, and at this moment various monkey-like roars were heard in the corridor. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Roar, roar, roar. Brothers are blessed. The corner of Tang Yi's mouth twitched fiercely. It was just a dormitory check, but these guys were driven crazy. Is cleaning difficult? There can be nothing more abstract than a fat guy placing dolls in the dormitory, right? Tang Yi quickly abandoned his thoughts and opened the door to find out what was going on. After all, it's not just 1 or 2 dormitories going crazy, it feels like their whole building is going crazy. The last time this happened was when they won the championship. He didn't even need to wait for him to ask. A dark and thin guy looked at Tang Yi and recommended books. He gave a wicked smile. Tang Yi, you are so lucky, do you know that? Today, the school beauty came to check on our dormitory in person. School beauty Jiu Qingyu, come check our boys' dormitory. Tang Yi, you must hold back for now. You can't let the school beauty stay in your dormitory and not be able to leave. Why the hell don't you let the school beauty go out? Tang Yi really wants to punch this guy twice. Bro, your thoughts are too evil. But what Tang Yi never expected was that Zhang Yuan behind him spoke at this time. Fuck, brother, how does he know that we don't want the school beauty to leave our dormitory? Chapter 23. Putting everything aside, are you not at fault at all? Under the shocked gaze of his thin and dark buddy, Tang Yi quickly closed the dormitory door, and then stared at Zhang Yuan with shock on his face. What the hell are you talking about here? Zhang Yuan wondered if he had farted. Wu Mingfei and Zhang Biao also took 2 deep breaths. It doesn't smell or make any noise, so it definitely wasn't released. Zhang Yuan immediately understood Tang Yi's gaze, and he quickly waved his hand to explain. Boss, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean to do anything. I mean the school beauty can go out, but she must not go out intact. Shouldn't we let her go out crying? What the hell? You have dangerous ideas. You are so young and yet you are so cruel. You've exchanged 3 years of your time for a lifetime of trauma on her part. Zhang Yuan, let's not be friends anymore. Those who are damaged will go out crying. How can you call this not doing anything? Tang Yi was numb, and the next second Zhang Yuan jumped up and grabbed the pillow from the bed. Without saying a word, he punched him twice. Tell her to scold me whenever she sees me, and tell her she is so heartless that she can't see how good you are to her. If I don't find a chance to make her cry, I won't be called Zhang Yuan. Jiu Qingyu better behave and not make things difficult for us today, or I'll make her come in laughing and leave crying. Oh, so that's what it meant. Tang Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Sure enough, it was just as he thought. Yes, he guessed what Zhang Yuan meant from the beginning. No matter which dormitory they were in, they were all very excited to see Jiu Qingyu leading the team in. Some of the big brothers even showed off themselves crazily. He deliberately changed into a vest to reveal his 8-pack abs, and then he lay on the ground and did push-ups desperately, as if he was showing that his waist was really good. These actions really made Jiu Qingyu feel sick. This was her first time checking the boys' dormitory. She felt like she was not checking the dorm, but rather hunting for curiosities. What kind of monsters were these? 5 points deducted, it's disgusting. Jiu Qingyu said coldly after leaving the last dormitory on the 3rd floor, and then led his men to the 4th floor in a mighty manner. Suddenly she felt a little thirsty, but she didn't send anyone to buy water. She knew in advance that Tang Yi's dormitory was the first one on the 4th floor. Tang Yi must have known that she was coming to check on the dormitory in person, so he must have prepared milk tea a long time ago, right? Humph, so what if I'm prepared? Do you think I'll go easy on him in the dormitory? While she was thinking, the staff member next to her had already opened the door of Tang Yi's dormitory. Jiu Qingyu raised her eyebrows and followed him in. What comes into view is an extremely clean and tidy dormitory. Even the corners are clean, obviously having been carefully tidied and cleaned. Jiu Qingyu didn't look at it for long, but looked around. The moment she didn't see milk tea in the dormitory, she frowned instantly. Really, she admitted that she had been a little cruel and cold towards Tang Yi before, and she knew that she was a little immature. But why didn't Tang Yi prepare milk tea for her? After half a day, Jiu Qingyu had no intention of arguing with him about not buying her Rujiamo in the morning. Originally, Jiu Qingyu wanted to accept his milk tea and drink it herself today. She wanted to change a little. After Tang Yi took out the milk tea to admit his mistake, she would not be so cold when she rejected him next time. But, the scene in front of her really disappointed Jiu Qingyu. Especially now that Tang Yi was still sitting on the bed playing with his cell phone, it was as if he hadn't seen her at all. At this time, the member who was checking the internal affairs came over, and the cute girl had 2 charming dimples on her lips when she smiled. Senior, this is the cleanest dormitory we found today, extra points, right? Extra points? More extra points. Jiu Qingyu frowned and stared at her intently. Why add extra points? What's so good about this dormitory? Don't you guys use your brain when you do your work? Her words confused the cute club member. Senior, why does it feel like she's been poisoned? Besides, isn't this dormitory well maintained? This is the highest standard, right? Perhaps she was frightened by Jiu Qingyu's aura, so she didn't dare to say much, but retreated aside awkwardly. Jiu Qingyu looked around and then spoke coldly. Although this dormitory looks clean and tidy, it is obvious that it has just been cleaned with great effort. They even cleaned the corners. How messy do you think a dormitory must be to need such cleaning? Although the dormitory we just saw wasn't this clean, they obviously didn't clean it very often. It's pretty good that it can be kept like that. When we check the dormitory, we look at the daily condition of the dormitory, not just on that day. If everyone is busy cleaning before the inspection, then what is the point of our inspection? After hearing these words, the 4 guys in the dormitory couldn't hold it anymore. If he didn't have that last bit of rationality left, Zhang Yuan would have slapped him. Wu Mingfei and Zhang Biao also stared at Jiu Qingyu in silence. As for Tang Yi, he was so angry at Jiu Qingyu that he almost laughed. What kind of nonsense was that? Just because we cleaned it in advance does that mean our dormitory was dirty and messy before? What's the matter? You just don't like me and want to deduct points. Why do you have to find so many excuses, Miss Jiu? Tang Yi suddenly thought of Qin Hui, the false accusation, and the fact that one can always find a pretext to accuse someone of a crime. He really couldn't hold it in any longer, so he stood up and stood in front of Jiu Qingyu and asked. Recommended books. Jiu Qingyu, you are just looking for trouble, right? Upon hearing this, a look of shock flashed across Jiu Qingyu's delicate features. How could Tang Yi still have the nerve to say that she was deliberately looking for trouble? Tang Yi, don't you know who made the first mistake? I'm here to check the dorm, but you didn't guess that I was thirsty and prepared milk tea for me in advance. You didn't prepare anything and now you're accusing me of looking for trouble? It is true that what I said just now was a bit excessive, but putting everything aside, are you definitely not wrong? Chapter 24, A Silver Tongue? Tongzi is harming people. Okay, you said I was looking for trouble on purpose. Then take out the photos of your dormitory that are usually clean and tidy. Otherwise I will definitely deduct your points. Jiu Qingyu was not afraid of Tang Yi at all. Her tone was extremely cold and she even deliberately took a step forward. Her anger had now reached its peak, and the moment she didn't see milk tea, she went over the past thoroughly. He followed her and disgusted her on purpose, wanting her to starve, and now he doesn't even want to buy her a cup of milk tea. Is it wrong to make things difficult for this kind of man? Let the sisters judge for themselves. You are so. Tang Yi thought that the dormitory was not very messy on weekdays, because Wu Mingfei was a bit of a germaphobe and he would never allow any garbage on the floor. But he almost swore. Evidence? Take out the photos of him looking neat and tidy on weekdays. Who has nothing better to do than take photos of their dorm every day? Zhang Yuan is really conflicted now, because he does have photos of his daily life in the dormitory on his phone. But he doesn't really want to show this photo, because it would be socially awkward if his silicone girlfriend was in the photo. But now he really wanted to throw the photo in Ji Yuqingyu's face to broaden her horizons. What? Tang Yi? I don't know how you can make excuses. You have nothing to say. I was right, wasn't I? From what I see, your dormitories didn't even fold up the quilts before noon, did they? Is the floor full of garbage and takeout boxes? You must be exhausted from cleaning up at noon. You can't produce evidence, right? Just deduct points, there's nothing much to say. Ji Yuqingyu waved her hand calmly. Tang Yi's deflated expression was exactly what she wanted to see. But for some reason, she just couldn't be happy. When deducting points, you need to take photos as evidence, and also to prevent students from deliberately framing their classmates. But Ji Yuqingyu is not afraid. As the president, if she wants to deduct some points, isn't it just a matter of a word from her? Photos? I forgot to take them. How come the dormitory is so clean? They cleaned it later. You are such a disgusting person. You won't feel better until I scold you, right? Tang Yi spoke directly, saying that it didn't matter if some points were deducted, the main thing was that he felt wronged. If he doesn't stand up at this time, what's the point of these three brothers calling him Big Brother all the time? Zhang Yuan and the other two spoke up shortly afterwards. I think you should stop calling me Ji Yuqingyu and call me Ji Yu Meiyu. Being the president of the student union, you think you are an official? You are nothing. You are vice president, and you come to the school to give orders. I don't accept it. If you weren't female, I would have knocked you away long ago. What I mean is, who can stand being framed like this? If Tang Yi had planned to pursue Ji Yuqingyu before, they would have been able to endure it for the sake of their brother. But now Tang Yi is not going to pursue her anymore, why should they endure it? But obviously this was not a unilateral accusation against Ji Yuqingyu, because there were also many students from the student union who came to check the dormitory. They didn't think that there was anything wrong with what Ji Yuqingyu did. Instead, they were very upset by the resistance of the 4 people in dormitory 401. What do you mean? The president is teaching you to listen obediently, why are you resisting? The fuse of a century-long war seemed to be lit, and at the same time, a graceful figure trotted across the playground and headed straight for Building 7 for boys. Professor Xiaosu was really anxious. She really didn't expect the story to develop like this. Just now she accidentally scanned the message and found that it was Ji Yuqingyu checking Building 7. She knew that her student's dormitory was in Building 7. Logically speaking, Ji Yuqingyu was worried when she went to check Tang Yi's dormitory. She was worried about Tang Yi. She has seen how unruly Ji Yuqingyu is. I hope I didn't embarrass little Tang Yi. Su Muyun subconsciously quickened her pace. What she didn't know was that Tang Yi was on the verge of losing his temper. Tang Yi really had never seen anything like this before. Why didn't he feel that Ji Yuqingyu was so disgusting before? If he doesn't curse harshly today, he will feel guilty about it. Tang Yi's lips moved slightly, the Zorn player must take action. And at this moment, a prompt sound rang out that only he could mention. Ding, the system sensed that the host was about to scold Ji Yuqingyu, and couldn't stand it anymore. You don't need to make any choices this time. The system provides the host with special props to help. Host, please vent your anger. Tang Yi. What the hell is this system doing today? I was scolded by my brother last night for being so honest. Don't need to choose to send props directly. Sure. Tang Yi didn't think much about it. What else could the system give him at this time except his eloquence? So what are you waiting for? Start blasting. Ji Yuqingyu, your fucking eyes. Tang Yi's words came to an abrupt halt, and he did not continue speaking because he sensed a familiar feeling. It was as if countless onions were facing his nose and eyes, and tears flowed unconsciously. Not only that, there was a hint of crying in his voice when he spoke, because this was a small prop that had been improved by the system. What the hell is this system? I want to have a fight and you give me this little prop. So the only prop you have is this one, which is to make people cry, right? Tang Yi was really convinced. What kind of thing was this? He was waiting for a quarrel with great enthusiasm, but he ended up crying? Wouldn't this shake the morale of the troops? He wanted to hold back his tears, but the truth was that he couldn't hold them back at all, and tears flowed out of his eyes like they were free. Recommended books. This scene also stunned everyone present. Chapter 25. Don't be afraid, sister is here. Zhang Yuan and the other two were frightened. They stopped fighting and looked at Tang Yi with concern. At this time, Ji Yuqingyue's eyes were a little dull. She didn't understand why Tang Yi was crying. Nonsense, she definitely doesn't understand. Tang Yi didn't even know he was going to cry before he opened his mouth. As the saying goes, when you don't know what to do, your enemies will definitely be confused too. But this did not affect Ji Yuqingyue's complaints about Tang Yi. She really felt that she had never seen anything like it in her life. Men don't shed tears easily. It's just a few points deducted, is it worth crying? Tang Yi's ability to handle setbacks is so poor? Then why didn't he cry every time I rejected him so many times? Humph, he still doesn't love me enough and doesn't take my rejection seriously at all. The more Ji Yuqingyu thought about it, the angrier she became, feeling that she had really misjudged the person. What? You're crying because of problems in your dorm. If crying works, then everyone should stop apologizing when they make mistakes and just cry. How old are you and still using such childish methods? Tang Yi originally wanted to curse the second stroke system, but Ji Yuqingyue's words brought him back to reality. No, sister, can you please have a little conscience? You are crying like this, will you die if you shut your mouth? Using childish means, am I kidding? Tang Yi really couldn't bear it anymore. Ji Yuqingyu, if I have 502 on hand, I will definitely stick it on your mouth. If I have a sword, you are really playing tricks. He shouted it out, but with the help of the system props, this sentence sounded even more tearful. With tears falling madly from Tang Yi's eyes, he felt as if his entire family was about to be executed and he would kneel in front of the government office and cry out for injustice. And at this moment, the dormitory door was pushed open. Su Muyin showed up, and what she saw was Tang Yi, who was crying inconsolably. Seeing this, her heart skipped a beat and it felt like it was being torn apart and was very painful. She heard Tang Yi shout at the door just now, and she felt really bad in her heart. I came here in such a hurry, but I still arrived late. She turned her head and glanced at Ji Yuqingyu, her eyes as cold as a pond in a snowy mountain. Then she stood beside Tang Yi, and her eyes became gentle again as she looked at him. What's going on? Seeing that it was their own counselor who came, Zhang Yuan and the other two were so excited. Damn, Director Su, you came at the right time. If you had come, school beauty Ji would have bullied us into the ground. How could Zhang Yuan and the other two miss this opportunity? They started to complain right away. Director Su, you don't know, our dormitory is really wronged. We knew there would be an afternoon inspection, so we tidied up the dormitory just to get a compliment. President Ji is really impressive. Do you know what she said? She said that we are so clean because we did a thorough cleaning because it was too messy before. She said that if the water is too clear, there will be no fish. If it was so clean during the inspection, it means our dormitory must be very messy at ordinary times. She's going to deduct points from us unless we provide evidence that our dorm is usually clean. Director Su, please don't think we are exaggerating. Just look at how Tang Yi is crying now. If this had happened before, Su Muyin would have checked whether her students had exaggerated what they said. After all, this was too outrageous. But after witnessing Ji Yuqingyu's arrogance last night, she now has no doubt that this is something this girl can do. Professor Xiaosu cares so much about Tang Yi's mental health. How could he bear to see him being bullied by Ji Yuqingyu like this again? Ji Yuqingyu, are you going a little too far? Are you treating yourself like a gangster? Did the school ask you, the student union, to come check the dormitories just so you can bully others like this? What the hell are you doing? If you're like this, why don't you just disband the student union? At this moment, the campus beauty Ji was already numb. She had never expected this ending. The moment Su Muyin entered the room, she recognized that this was the woman who had been with Tang Yi last night, but she never thought that she was the new instructor in Tang Yi's class. As a counselor, why did she go out with Tang Yi instead of going home to lie down after work? Is she sick? Jiyu Qingyu was very unhappy being stared at by Sumuyan, and she was even more unhappy to see her next to Tang Yi. Don't you know he's pursuing me? I said he has nothing to do with you. Why do you blame me? Jiyu Qingyu was furious, but she knew that Sumuyan was a teacher and there was no benefit in arguing with her. He simply snorted coldly and turned around to leave with his men. But before she could take a step, Sumuyan's cold voice came from behind. Did I allow you to leave? Jiyu Qingyu turned her dark face away and met Sumuyan's gaze, which was equally cold. So what do you want? What do I want? Is this the quality of the campus beauty of Jinghai University of Technology? If you do something wrong, you will leave without saying a word. Is this her upbringing? Sumuyan was puzzled, but became more and more excited. When she spoke again, her tone was unquestionable. Now, apologize to my students. Chapter 26. Sumuyan, who isn't a little princess? Why? Jiyu Qingyu didn't want to have a conflict with Sumuyan, but that didn't mean she was afraid of Sumuyan. She has been the center of attention since she was a child. Why should she apologize? Are you kidding me? Or with Tang Yi? Jiyu Qingyu was afraid that after she apologized to Tang Yi, he would say behind his back that she had bent her knees to him. Then why do you want to deduct our points for no reason? Why do you make things difficult for them? Don't you realize there's something wrong with these two things? Isn't this worthy of a sincere apology? Sumuyan is really not afraid of Jiyu Qingyu acting like a spoiled brat with her. Who is afraid of who? Come on, let us quarrel. Who isn't a little princess? Do you really think that the extra salt I've eaten over the years than you have is just wasted on dogs? At this moment, Professor Su's temper flared up completely, and his beautiful face was filled with uncontrollable rage. Jiyu Qingyu pointed to the nameplate on her chest that represented her identity, and then spoke coldly. Our student union is fully responsible for this dormitory inspection. I have my reasons for deducting points. Professor Su, I'm sorry, I have no obligation to explain to you. If you want to know, ask the teacher in charge of the organization to come and ask me. If it were an ordinary teacher, he might have been speechless after being criticized by Jiyu Qingyu. But who is our Professor Xiaosu? Please, a senior student of psychology, please. Okay, Jiyu Qingyu, since you said that, I demand that you apologize to my students now. As for the reason, I am also under no obligation to explain it to you. If you want to know, ask your counselor or parents to ask me. Also, I've written down your names, so you don't have to worry about any evaluations or ratings this semester. As for the reason, I have no obligation to explain it to you. If you want to know, ask your parents or counselors to ask me. How about that? Seeing this scene, Tang Yi was so moved that he almost cried. Oh my god, isn't he Professor Su so handsome? Yes, just confront them like that, sister is really awesome. The props in the reasoning system seem to not only make people cry, but also tend to amplify emotions. Tang Yi was so touched that he burst into tears again unconsciously, and the sound was as loud as the Wang family in the village slaughtering a pig. Zhang Yuan raised his eyebrows. Tang Yi is so excited that his revenge has been achieved. Wu Mingfei nodded in agreement. Yes, I am so moved by seeing you. Zhang Biao smiled innocently. I think that big brother is so depressed because he was bullied so badly before. It's rare for him to breathe a sigh of relief. Tang Yi's crying and the three people's explanations made Sumuyan's heart tremble, and her expression became even colder. I know that many of you are also dissatisfied with President Gu's actions. It's okay for you to help her normally, but if this incident affects your scholarship or something, wouldn't it be worth it? Professor Xiaosu's words felt like a wake-up call, and the student union members standing nearby were all stunned. Yes, the one who was shameless enough to make things difficult for Tang Yi and the others was school beauty Jiyu. What does that have to do with us? We were just fulfilling our duty and saying a few words on behalf of the president. There is nothing wrong with that. Professor Su, we know we were wrong. Tang Yi, I apologize to you. I'm sorry. Me too. I will definitely keep Professor Su's teachings in mind and work hard in the future. The first few people who spoke were really afraid of the impact on themselves. When it comes to scholarships and performance evaluations, offending the student union president, what's the big deal? Those who stood up later held the mentality of the law does not hold everyone responsible. So many people have run away, so if we run away too, even if Principal Beauty Gu holds a grudge against us, she won't make things difficult for so many of us, right? As a human being, it's better to have fewer things to do, so as to avoid the worry and aging, right? In the blink of an eye, all the people around her had left. Jiu Qingyu, with a frown on her face, felt helpless as she was being blamed. When she raised her head, Sumuyun was still staring at her, waiting for her apology. Jiu Qingyu rolled her eyes secretly. She didn't understand. It was just an apology. It wouldn't hurt Tang Yi if she didn't say anything. Is that really the case? She didn't really make things difficult for Tang Yi and the others. She just wanted to deduct some points. How was this different from playing a joke on them? Isn't it said that boys are the most carefree and don't care about this? Isn't Sumuyun too stingy? Jiu Qingyu did not apologize directly, but turned to look at Tang Yi, who was still crying, and slightly opened her red lips. Hey, are you sure you want me to apologize? Sumuyun was confused. No, who are you calling, hey? My student Tang Yi is so cute, why does he treat you like a servant? Professor Su moved his lips slightly and was about to speak, but Tang Yi spoke first. Why don't you apologize? Sister, you don't want to apologize, do you? Don't you realize how unreasonable you were just now? Let me tell you, the three guys next to me are all holding their breath. Tang Yi really couldn't find any reason not to ask Jiu Qingyu to apologize, and he didn't even know how to help her make one. He expressed it very firmly, which was a heavy blow to our campus beauty Guda and became the last straw that broke the camel's back. So, what this man said before, that he would protect and take care of her no matter what, was all lies. Now that he has the chance, he is forcing her to apologize by being an accomplice to the evil? Jiu Qingyu was really recommended books. She felt very uncomfortable and thought that she had really misjudged Tang Yi before. She used to think that this man was a bit of a letdown and not suitable for her, but he was truly the most persistent and sincere of the many boys pursuing her. At this moment, Jiu Qingyu felt that she was so stupid and naive that she was deceived by a scumbag. With so many grievances weighing on her heart, Principal Gu's eyes were red. Tang Yi, I'm sorry. After saying that, she was about to turn around and leave, but Tang Yi's voice stopped her again. Chapter 27 Jiu Qingyu, who doesn't he have a counselor? Jiu Qingyu, didn't your teacher teach you to stand at attention when you are beaten? Can you be a little apologetic? Although Tang Yi was still crying, his condition was obviously not as bad as before. The main reason is that the system's items have become too effective. His brows were tightly furrowed, and he took 2 steps forward to stand in front of Jiu Qingyu. Raise your head, look at us and apologize. It's rare to see such a lovable school beauty. At exactly 4 o'clock, many students walking on campus saw Jiu Qingyu walking alone with a mask on. Today, she doesn't seem as cold as usual. Today, she looks like a kitten in need of protection. Driven by illusion, some brave students mustered up the courage to step forward and talk to Jiu Qingyu. Their boy would probably never forget Jiu Qingyu's extremely cold and murderous look until his death. Ill. After leaving a cold remark, Jiu Qingyu continued walking towards the college office building. She did not continue to check the dormitories, but left the boys' dormitory directly. She had something important to do. Why should I apologize to Tang Yi? Just because he has his instructor's support behind him? We are all college students, students of Jinghai University of Technology. Who doesn't he have a counselor? Jiu Qingyu is now going to find her instructor Lin Ran. She wants to tell her all the suffering she has endured. You know, Sister Lin Ran is the most protective of her children. Jiu Qingyu walked up to the 3rd floor with the clatter of her little leather shoes and went straight into Lin Ran's office without even knocking. This also frightened Lin Ran, who was in the room, but she did not blame Jiu Qingyu, but said with a smile. I knew you were here when I heard the knock on the door. What's wrong? Hey, why are your eyes still red? What's wrong, Qingyu? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Lin Ran looks like a caring older sister. She is not very old, but her cup is very big. It seems to be a little bit bigger than Professor Xiaosu's peak, and he is a real C-level professor. She motioned Jiu Qingyu to sit opposite her, and listened attentively for her answer. Jiu Qingyu did not hold it back. She opened her red lips and began to complain. Sister Ran, do you know how hateful the new Professor Sumuyun is? Just now when I was checking the dormitories, Jiu Qingyu recounted the unfair treatment she had encountered, and Lin Ran was stunned. There was a flash of disbelief in Lin Ran's eyes, but it didn't last long before she hit it. Then she raised her eyebrows, slapped the desk with her right palm, and hugged Jiu Qingyu the next second. Lin Ran's tone was cold and her eyes gave people a sharp feeling. How can this be possible? Isn't this pure bullying? You bully someone and you've bullied my student Lin Ran. Who in the entire Jinghai University of Technology doesn't know that I, Lin Ran, am the most protective of my shortcomings? A new professor is so arrogant. Qingyu, don't worry. The teacher will give you justice in this matter. I will go find Sumuya now. Standing at the office door, Jiu Qingyu was really moved as she watched Lin Ran angrily go upstairs to settle the score with Sumuyan. It is said that women help women, and indeed, they are much better than men at critical moments. Sumuyan's office on the 4th floor of the office building. After leaving the dormitory, Sumuyan did not come back alone, but asked Tang Yi to come back with her. After all, this kind of thing happened. She wanted to understand Tang Yi's current mental state and give him some advice. Others may not know, but she understands that Tang Yi is very fragile inside, and his crying today must be the result of being tense for too long. Sumuyan looked at the still smiling Tang Yi tenderly and sighed. Xiao Tang Yi, I'm the only one here. If you want to cry, just cry. Professor Xiaosu, do you believe me when I say I don't want to cry at all? Did you cry all your tears dry up at that time? I didn't feel like crying then. The corner of Tang Yi's mouth twitched fiercely. He really wanted to curse this second stroke system to death. Men don't shed tears easily. If this gets out, what will happen to Tang Yi? Will he cry all day? When Sumuyan heard Tang Yi say that he didn't want to cry at that time, her heart felt like being hit by a huge rock. She frowned and wanted to comfort him but didn't know where to start. Tang Yi disguised himself too well and she couldn't see any flaws. Then, we can only take the simplest and most direct method. Well, come and hug me. Sumuyan spoke very softly, but Tang Yi was really scared. Hug her? Professor Su looks particularly charming today, with her long hair floating down casually and delicate makeup embellishing her flawless face. She wore a long skirt yesterday, but today she wore normal sportswear. Her temperament was a little weak, but her lazy posture was doubled. In particular, Tang Yi knew what a perfect figure and a beautiful back were hidden under her knitted t-shirt. Tang Yi swallowed his saliva. He couldn't control it. Professor Xiaosu, it seems like he's planning to comfort me with a hug again. Tang Yi didn't think much about it, because he was stared at by Sumuyan's beautiful peach blossom eyes and he couldn't think of refusing at all. Of course you have to accept her. Recommended books. Good intention. Although this was the second time they hugged each other, they still felt each other stunned at the moment their bodies touched. Sumuyan adapted quickly and immediately reached out and hugged Tang Yi. The two of them hugged each other like this, and no one said anything, but the next second, the sound of high heels tapping was heard. Getting closer, getting louder, and clearer.